Today is March 22nd, 2026, and welcome to the 480th episode of the So Video Games podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10 and offers full accessibility info on every review that we publish. And with me today, special guest, the tuberculosis to my penicillin, Jeremiah Bratton.
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
Well, it's topical. Topical, I figured.
Have you by chance read the book Everything is Tuberculosis?
I didn't realize that book even existed.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There's a book called Everything is Tuberculosis. So if anybody had read that, you'd know that calling me tuberculosis, big deal, because apparently it's everything.
Okay, well, the reason, just to clarify with everyone, you're a little bit under the weather, and I figured since you were sick, I would call you some fun disease or whatever, and we would just segue off that, because I always got to come up with some special intro for you. I didn't realize there was a whole lot of other stuff that went into tuberculosis. What's the deal there? Is it not just a disease?
No, it is just a disease. You asked, like, do you have any books that you were, like, reading? It's like, nah, whatever. And then I bring up a book immediately. That book kind of traces the line. It's kind of like our classical disease of, like, how it's this thing that we just can't, like, we've just chosen to not eradicate, and it just kills the fuck out of us.
All right. Well, I didn't realize I was putting my foot in. Okay, let me go back and do it. Let me do it.
Like, COVID's like in the sidecar when it comes, like, next to tuberculosis. Right. Tuberculosis is driving.
Okay. Let me restart then. Back in the time machine. Okay. The dripping head cold to my Advil, Jeremiah Bratton.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely more accurate.
Okay. All right. Good.
Sure. So yeah.
Unintended medical faux pas there. Okay. But Jeremiah, you're here. Thank you very much for being on the show. I know you're kind of battling through disease right now, so thank you for just like putting on a brave face.
Yeah, to help you through your, like, podcast arc where there's a sick guest on mic. I feel like it's a common theme.
It's like every podcast these days that I listen to.
I know. Like, there's always that person like, hey, you guys, I'm sorry. Like, I have to make content or I die. So I will I'll try to keep, like, for everybody having to listen to that, like, I'll try to keep the coughs and the sniffles, like, as far away from this microphone as possible for you.
We shall make do, but I'm glad that you're here today. Thank you very much. And I know it sucks to do anything when you're sick, so this is, like, doubly appreciated, sir.
Hey, let's do it.
All right, excellent. All right, good. All right, folks, so we're here to do a show. I guess we should probably do that. We're going to change it up a little bit. I don't think we have a lot of housekeeping this week. I think the only thing that was worthy of note was something that Jeremiah brought to the table, the whole the DLSS debacle, which I guess in a nutshell is just like, is it an NVIDIA thing? Is that who did it?
Yeah, DLSS is NVIDIA and FSR is AMD.
That was a lot of letters.
Just as far as, like, I can't, they basically do the same thing. It's some form of, like, machine learning based upscaling.
Yeah, and basically it's just like you just push a button and it makes, it sends all your game characters into the uncanny valley and they all get like they're put through a beauty filter or whatever, right? Is that kind of fair to say?
I mean, as far as what NVIDIA revealed, yes. Up before this, though, DLSS and FSR are, like, if you got a Steam Deck, your Steam Deck does this. The Switch 2, I think the Switch 2 uses DLSS, the NVIDIA side of it. Mm-hmm. So what it's doing is that your graphics card is able to render half the resolution that it's displaying. So what that means is that you get a higher frame rate. You get to usually enjoy a higher or more stable frame rate on lower end hardware, because I'm going to give a dramatic example.
Okay, I like drama.
Because your graphics card could render out like Monster Hunter Wilds, which is a terrible example of this, but we're going to stick with it.
Okay.
Like 320 by 240 is what gets rendered out, and then FSR or DLSS then upscales that image to 4K.
Okay.
based on the information that it has. So what it means is that, like when you're trying to, there's a game you want to play on your PC, right? And your hardware's like, you're maybe just hitting minimum specs, so you're beating it down to like lowest settings to be able to play. These frame generation tools allow you to, the graphics card renders out at lowest quality, and then you get to see something that's a little bit more from like mid to high.
Right. So tricky stuff. Now maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a tech guy at all. But we've been doing tricks like similar to this in concept for a while now, and I was always kind of under the impression, maybe naively so, that this was kind of like like some clever algorithm or something. But I think the big kerfuffle with this DLSS recent announcement was that it's using like actual generative AI. So I guess I don't know if it's some bit of it that's in your machine, or it pings back to some server somewhere or something, but this is actually fully Gen AI from what I understand. It's not just a rendering trick or some other like, simple software trick that we might have done in the past. Does that seem correct?
From what at least what I've seen and what other people have talked about as they have gone after Digital Foundry, very specifically with, like, that's what the headline was, right? Is that Digital Foundry was doing a like kind of a sponsored preview of DLS 5, and like they showed like Resident Evil 5 was one, Resident Evil 5, Starfield, and there's I think an Oblivion game I think Oblivion was in there. And they're like, this is great, this rules. And then the rest of the world saw that and they're like, no, this is awful. Like, this just, because it wasn't just upscaling the image, right? It wasn't making kind of it wasn't making extra pixels out of probabilistic things around it. It was like taking Leon Kennedy's face, or what's her name, Alice, from Resident Evil 9, and like basically glowing them up. I mean, like, my favorite thing that I get out of this is just the idea that I get to say Dial Yas Yas, because it's a yassifying filter on these characters, and that's the generative AI part, meaning that you have a system that is with some manner of vision to it, that is taking an image and it is processing it, and it is creating an output image, an output frame that is highest probability, what it believes should be there.
Yes.
Based on its training data. And if your training data is the internet, which so far it has been, you have a lot of like glamour and like makeup.
Yes.
And I don't know, is like, I'm sure there's like a maxing, like looks maxing. I think that's what it is for like for the dudes.
Yeah.
So you get, you let this thing run free on a video game, and you get these fucking like jokey anime close-up shots where there's little stars and like big lashes, like eyes, like she, like it takes everyone and just gives them the full beat. I mean, people were not kind, and so like on one level, I'm just really anti-AI in its current form right now for like a million reasons. I mean, again, I've said this before on the show. I think it's a tool. I think we could use it appropriately. I think we could find a world in which it makes sense to use this. We are not living in that world right now, so I'm pretty against AI in its current existence, but also what it does to the artistic intent, and what it does to kind of like destroy what the developers and the artists were kind of going for, kind of just like rewriting stuff over. It seemed like I heard a lot of people being very upset about that. So, and also, like you said, if you train on the internet as it is now, I mean, that seems pretty problematic. And I think that maybe the examples they used were probably best case scenarios. I would love to see some of the worst case scenarios that would not be as quote unquote benign as these ones were. I'm sure there's a lot of horrible oopsies that are just waiting to happen with this technology. Well, and that's the thing. And I think that even, I believe that even NVIDIA kind of said this as well, which is, hey, we were the ones that did this. Like, we're showing you this as a tech demo. The developers, Capcom didn't didn't do this for us.
Right.
So
Right.
what that kind of means or suggests, not knowing how those tools work for a developer, I don't know if Capcom is able to provide like training corpus for this that's just their own. Also, I'm sorry. I am literally in the middle of teaching like college students like stuff about AI. So corpus meaning like Capcom generates a ton of images. Like they kind of that they would train, maybe they just train like an RE engine model of like, hey, this is kind of this is the stuff that we believe it should be. So like when you're upscaling, this is your training data.
Right. So they could create
Ideally,
like a lookbook for Leon or something with like 1 million
pretty much
official Leon images, and then give it to whoever, and they would like feed that in and be like, yo, if you're going to use this, follow these guidelines, basically.
Right. And you would show it like, hey, this, maybe you'd feed it. This is what the ideal version of this character looks like at these resolutions. Like, this is how you would solve for this problem or this problem. So maybe that's the ultimate goal, is that, maybe not every game, but maybe for a game engine, there's like proprietary training data that just allows them to work with the upscaler.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense. So,
but as far as like a first out of the gate look, this isn't good, and it continues to be the like, it's the mess that just everything around like generative AI is. Like, we just wouldn't be like this like legitimately like interesting and like useful thing that the human race has built that was like just deployed into the middle of culture by just some of the worst, like most callous people imagine. Like the worst stewards of this technology are the ones that we just cannot get away from. And like there's so much money in it. Like, imagine for a moment, I'm sorry, I'm being didactic, I know.
Go ahead, girl.
But imagine for a moment that this much money had been this quickly put behind blockchain and crypto at the time. And like, we almost got this with crypto.
Yeah.
But like the risk showed up too fast.
Right.
Whereas like this, there's so much fucking money in it. People they won't take their finger, like they literally cannot take their fingers out of it anymore. So like, it's just every day, it's a new way to just, I don't know, to cram this like relatively benign thing like down everybody's throat.
Yeah. I mean, this is we could do an entire podcast about this one specific topic, right?
I have to be careful, or I'm gonna get fully on my bullshit here.
No, I think there's a million things to dive into, and I think there's a lot of other considerations that are the global society, cultural, like you kind of mentioned, ecological. I mean, there's like a lot of things that are relevant to this and germane to this, but like you said, the worst stewards in the world are the people in charge of it, and I think it's going wrong in like 19 different ways. So let's put a pin in it for now, but I think this was the big news as far as I don't have any other news for this week, but if you want more information, where'd this story break, Jeremiah? Do you remember? Where can people read more about this?
God, pretty much everywhere. I think I would tell you maybe the most responsible discourse the most responsible explanation I've heard of it came from the Remap, and they're not Waypoint anymore, came from the Remap group.
Okay.
Like, I think they're the ones that like handle it the most evenly. Like Kotaku, like all of the typical outlets, I think are just kind of want to dogpile on Digital Foundry. I agree with what the Remap group had stated, which is, hey, they're not graphics people, like, meaning they are not like, you're dealing with a group of people that are looking for like how a thing performs and not necessarily how it looks. So
yeah,
but it's a mess anyway. But yeah, if you want to hear someone else talk about it, go.
Yeah, check that out if you want more information. It basically drowned out all the other news this week. I don't really have anything else. Anything else from you really quickly, Jeremiah? Anything?
No, I feel like did we go a week without layoffs?
Maybe.
I don't know if we did. Maybe just
We probably just didn't hear about them, but yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is like which studio's going under this week, but I think maybe, I don't know, it's quiet, and no news is good news when it comes to that front, so I guess we'll leave that alone.
I suppose so. Well, because we are all abused, truly abused by the news cycle these days.
For sure. All right, let's get off housekeeping real quickly. Just a quick shout out to GameCritics.com. Publish a bunch of stuff there. Would like to shine a little spotlight in those. If you have not clicked over there in a while, feel free to do so. This week we published the official text review for Showgunners, which I think was great. Had a great time with that. We published the Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection review. We did a Demon Tides review. We had a review in progress for Marathon and a couple of other things. So check that out if you haven't already. Also, YouTube is still there. You can get every single episode of So Video Games backlog. You can also get most of the GameCritics.com podcasts on our YouTube channel. We also published a bunch of trailers. And again, these are all hand curated. If you see a trailer on our channel, it's because somebody at the site thought it looked cool. YouTube.com/@GameCritics.com videos to see what's up over there. And also, before we get to the main part of the show, just a quick heads up about the Patreon supporting us. All the costs of this show and sister site GameCritics.com are paid for out of my pocket, this pocket right here. And if you love the show, if you love the site, I would invite you to chip in and help me keep it all running. And if everyone would chip in just $1 a month, just one, breaks down to 25 cents per show. Every expense will be covered. So if you can afford it, I would appreciate it. All right, Jeremiah, let's get to the circle backs. I know that you are a sporadic guest, so you probably don't have a lot. Is it all right with you if I go ahead and just jump into mine this week?
Yeah, me sitting here playing Castlevania 4 at my desk from time to time doesn't quite meet the bar.
Which one is Castlevania 4? Is that the SNES?
Oh. Yeah, I have my SNES Mini plugged into one of my monitors on my desk.
Oh, man, that was the shit back in the day. You mentioned, so we got to talk about it now for a second, because I guess we're doing it. But, man, what a great game back in the... I mean, does it hold up these days?
I mean, I'm terrible at it. I would tell you that it holds up. I'm always shocked at how garish it looks. There's just you see a team that was like, man, you got colors. Get out there and use them. So there's weird purples and yellows. Like I would tell you that game is a little visually noisy.
Okay.
It can be a little hard to parse sometimes, but because I think they were just cramming graphics into it.
And if memory serves, that was the one where they were at that point in time. Super Nintendo was still experimenting with what do they call it? Like Mode 7 or something like that? Like the
well, that was their big thing, right? Is the ability to do parallaxing and Mode 7. There's like another way to say it, but just like the way that they're doing, like they're scaling.
Yeah, I seem to recall, if memory serves, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like some of the bosses did weird things, like where they would get really big, like the pixels would get like supersized, and they would spin around and stuff. Is that do you see that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's that same thing where you have bosses that are kind of you have larger enemies that are made up of pieces of individual pieces of sprites, so they animate a little bit differently. They can just be larger. They can be scaled up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember being really thinking that was just like the coolest shit back in the day, man. So, are you having fun with it at all? What made you choose that out of all the games you could have possibly played?
It sits here on my desk, and when I need, there's like it's just like I just kind of need to pull my head somewhere else. It's just a thing I can turn on, and like we can play a little bit of Super Mario World. Like I can go grind an Earthbound for a minute, and play Castlevania. So
Man.
the last couple trips back to it have been Castlevania 4. I think I've only ever managed to make it like three levels in. One day I'll finish it.
Oh, dude, I remember playing that, and I did finish it back in the day. But boy, I don't know that I'd even be able to play it at all these days. I think our norms and standards and expectations have just like changed so wildly, and something that I would have persevered through back in the day, I don't know that I would put up with it today. But man, I haven't thought about that game in ages. Wow. Okay, cool. Excellent. All right, cool. Well, thanks for that little trip down memory lane. Appreciated. let me circle back really quickly to Star Trek Voyager Across the Universe, and this will be the official scored review. I've talked about it at least once or twice on the show before. Just a quick recap for folks. This is the it's like turn-based. There's a ant farm view of the Voyager. This is, of course, based on the Star Trek Voyager TV series. So you can control stuff inside the ship. It's kind of like XCOM base building, if anybody's played XCOM, the recent one, where you have lots of rooms. You can put in like different labs and bays and storage and accommodations and stuff, like mix and match whatever you want inside the ship. It all costs energy, so you're balancing energy with utility. You also need resources, and you get resources as you fly throughout each galaxy. So there's kind of like that sim management element, and I really kind of it's kind of analogous to something like a Frostpunk or the Alters, very much so in terms of like how you manage those elements. But then there's also the Star Trek aspect where you're flying through space, and every new star system you come to, there's like a main quest, and there's also a bunch of side quests that you can do, and you're always under the time pressure of like eventually needing to get back home. For people that don't remember, Voyager is the one where your ship gets blasted to the ass end of the universe, and the whole point of the show and of this game is to get back to Earth. It's further than you can ever get by just like going at max speed, and so you've got to figure out new technologies, make new alliances, look for wormholes and that kind of thing. So as I've said before, I think this is a great sim game. I think it's simplified, which is good. And let me be clear, that's good. It is a good thing that it is simplified, and we'll get to a game later on the show where it is not simplified and it's a bad thing. But speaking about console, I think that the UI works really well. I think all the elements that are here, all the resources to manage, the people to manage, the rooms to manage, it's all super manageable on a console. There's a lot here, but also I feel like it's easy to read. You really clearly understand what you need, what you're low on, what you've got a lot on, what you need to do. Quests are clearly outlined. The steps are clearly outlined. I mean, I think in many ways, this game is real piece of work in a good way when it comes to like making something visibly accessible without like having the typical PC bullshit of like menu upon menu upon menu, or like all these little doodads and icons and stuff that you probably need a giant screen and a mouse to get to effectively. So I think they were really smart about that. And for Star Trek fans who have seen the show, it's just like a feast of like callbacks and references. So many characters here who just got like cameos or something in the show, or were on the show for a little bit. They can like join your crew here, and basically every side quest and quest is a callback to a specific episode. So if you've seen every show or the whole series, you're like, oh, okay, this side quest is the one where they had to transplant medical organs. And, oh, this is the one where the kids were actually old people, and this is the one where so-and-so. So, I mean, it's just like callback after callback, which is really cool. But I will say, it does stand on its own. The difference being the framework, structure, gameplay, sim elements are all great. And I think this system would really work for basically any game. You could take Star Trek out of it and put it in Mad Max Wasteland, or you could put it in World War I, or you could put it in whatever. It would still work really beautifully. So I think that's great. I think it's a testament to like what they've designed here. But I think the Star Trek thing works really well. You will get a lot more out of it if you are a Voyager fan. If you are not a Voyager or Star Trek fan, or if you've never seen the show, or you just are coming to it for the sim elements, still really fun to play, but it will feel like a much hollower experience because they don't spend a lot of time elaborating on why this one particular alien is this way, or why this quest is this way. They're kind of counting on you to have already seen the show and to kind of like shorthand know what they're talking about, which I get. And that kind of links into basically this game's only real downside is I think the lack of bells and whistles. There's a lot of like really rough hand-drawn art. There's not a lot of voice acting. There's not a lot of cutscenes. I mean, ideally, there would be a lot more visual pizzazz that I think would really elevate this experience to the next level. I think it's good and I had a great time with it. I mean, I loved playing it. I couldn't stop playing it as a Star Trek fan. But I can see how people who is not already in the fold might be not as enthusiastic as I am about it. And I think it just needs more sizzle to sell it, more flash and more excitement to it. But I like what they've done. I can see what they've done. I think it's a really great thing. And overall, I mean, it's really, really good. I just had a great time. A couple of bugs here and there, but overall, just a blast. So not going to go on and on about it here, but I think now that I've wrapped up the game, there's multiple endings. I'm not going to go back for another ending or two. I think what I got was good. I just had a really great time. Only one other thing that I'll mention as a possible downside is that apart from the saving, they put a patch in to give some manual saving, which was great. So that's basically been resolved. But the only other thing is the endings, when you get to the final chapter of the game, and by this time you're probably 10, 11, 12 hours deep. It's about 12 hours overall if you just play it like normal. There are some ending conditions to get some of the other endings that I thought were just like bananas. And I kind of felt like you wouldn't have known what to do. And I think that the requirements are pretty unreasonable to ask of anybody playing their first time through. I think perhaps those other endings were gated so hard in order to encourage people to go back for a second playthrough, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm not going to say I was super disappointed because I was happy with the ending that I got, but it did feel kind of like a bummer to get to the final suite of choices and realize I was blocked out of if there's 4 choices, I was blocked out of 3 and I had to choose the last one, which kind of felt bad. And I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything, but it just seemed like if you didn't know about it ahead of time, there's no real way you would have known what to do in order to do that. And so that was kind of bullshitty to me, but that's a pretty small thing. So overall, I had a great time. Loved it. It's definitely something that I have really enjoyed, and certainly one of the best Star Trek games to come out for console easily. So overall, I think I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Final answer, 8 out of 10. Jeremiah, are you a Star Trek person?
Yes. I guess I say that because I'm going to lean more towards Star Trek over Star Wars. I feel like we've had this conversation before. So I would say yes, I'm a Star Trek person in that regard. I don't keep up with it, though. So, I didn't really watch. I believe I've maybe seen an episode of Voyager.
Gotcha.
So, a lot of my knowledge of it tends to revolve around Next Generation and DS9 running in syndication, and just kind of being this kind of thing that you can just kind of have ambiently around you, but I'm not keeping up with it. Not keeping up with it from there, enough to be able to watch the. Did they make 3 movies recently?
I'm not up on the most recent stuff. I'm actually going through the entire Star Trek canon, and I haven't gotten there yet. So I think there were a couple, at least 3, I believe, with the new, the brand new cast, reboot cast,
the brand new ones. Yeah. I've at least know enough about it to have been able to have watched those and kind of appraised what I was seeing. But that's about it.
Gotcha. Is this game something that you would be into? I know you're kind of dipping a toe into strategy and tactics these days. Is this kind of a thing you'd be interested in? This along these Frostpunk and Alters line, this kind of thing?
Frostpunk is a game that I convinced myself to put into my Steam library, and I am terrified to play it.
Have you never played it?
I have never played it.
Oh, what?
I have started it, and I have begun to look at it, and I suppose this is a success. I won't let the tangent go on too long. That game is so aesthetically oppressive that I'm I don't want to be here right now. So I've not. Frostpunk is one of those things that I have an interest in. I have it. I have not taken the time to play it.
Man, okay. Well, okay. So quick tangent. Love Frostpunk. One of my favorite games of all time. Definitely worth getting into when you are emotionally strong enough to bear the oppression. You're correct. I mean, it's definitely dark and oppressive and harsh, and you make a lot of harsh choices, and it's just a rough game to play for sure. But man, loved that one for sure. The way that you're describing Frostpunk is how I feel about Pathologic. Have you ever played Pathologic?
No, I don't think I have.
And neither have I, just for full disclosure. It's one of those games that it's in the circles of people that talk about it, and I'm okay, this is something I should play. It's very interesting to me, but it's one of those games where you're just on this negative cycle where you don't really thrive. You just kind of stave death off for as long as you can and get to some super sad ending that just makes everybody miserable. But it seems like the kind of thing that I should play, and I've had it. Excuse me, I think I bought it 3 times. I think I have it on 3 different systems, and I've literally never booted it up even once, and I think about it all the time. It's one of my white whales for sure. So maybe how you feel about Frostpunk is how I feel about Pathologic. So maybe one day we should just make a pact and just you play 6 hours of this, I'll play 6 hours of that. We'll come back and we'll hug and cry and emotionally support each other through whatever trauma we've incurred.
Yeah, I'm a person that tries to be very aware of not only liking something, liking a game because it's a power fantasy.
Exactly.
but and trying to meet it, meet something that is very like is designed to not be a power fantasy.
Yeah.
I look at Frostpunk, like it looks kind of like city builder management sim version of like Darkest Dungeon, and like I had so much trouble with Darkest Dungeon.
Another one of my favorite games. I love Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, so like no, that's exactly why when you're like Frostpunk, one of my favorite games, they're like, yeah, no, you loved Darkest Dungeon. Of course it would be.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I find that stuff fascinating. I think it's interesting, and it's it would be worth me getting into it. It's hard to get into it.
Yeah, I hear you for sure. Definitely worth it though. Definitely a pretty amazing experience. Did you play The Altars by any chance? No?
I don't think I've heard of that one.
That was my game of the year when it came out, actually. You should check it out. And it has a lot of the same, well, it's not exactly the same dismal, dark, depressing, but it has a lot of the same sim elements. It has a lot of the same like management elements. This The Altars is about guy crashes on a planet. It's like he's an astronaut or whatever. And everybody in the crew dies except for him, and he needs to get back home, but he can't get back home alone, so he ends up cloning himself in order to have extra help. But the clones are not just clones of him, they are clones from alternate choice points in his life. We never talked about this before?
No, we have not. I at least had to look it up, like, Steam, don't autoplay. Stop it, buddy. God, hey, everyone, I fucking hate autoplay.
Same.
Stop it.
Same.
It's an accessibility problem. Stop it. Anyhow,
Yeah.
I know, but like, okay, I know what this is. I remember people talking about this because I very distinctly remember going to look it up and like not thinking like I'm not looking for the movie, The Altars. I'm looking for the video game because it looks like a movie poster.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember that very, very directly.
Well, you should check that one out too if you're into that kind of game. All right, anyway. Tangent. Getting back to Star Trek Voyager Across the Universe. Had a great time with it. It needs more bells and whistles, but I think it's a great sim, and it's like a double great sim if you are a Star Trek fan. Full score, 8 out of 10. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, let's get on to the new stuff. And actually, kind of a funny story. I got a code for upcoming game Darkside Detective Backside of the Moon from, I believe, Scottish developer Spooky Doorway, who I'm a big fan of. I remember playing Darkside Detective when it came out several years ago on the Switch, and it just like blew my mind because it was a point and click, but to me it's like, maybe other people would argue this or maybe have other suggestions, but to me that was like the beginning of a renaissance for like a new era of point and click games. I grew up with point and click games and I hated them all. Whenever I would go to a friend's house who had a computer, we'd play a bunch. I'd play like, Police Quest and Leisure Suit Larry and shit like that. And I always wanted to like them more than I did, but like I hated the fucking moon logic and the cat hair mustache bullshit. And they were just like they seemed to be so fun, and yet they were never fun, and I could never understand them, and I hated them. And so I just never was a point and click guy. But then when Darkside Detective came out, following the same structure, people talk, you can click on things with a mouse, you get items, use items on other things. Same thing, but it was such a breath of fresh air in that the dialogue was short and punchy and funny. Definitely emphasis on funny. Number of items was scaled way back. So like you would never have more than like 3 or 4 items at most. You don't have like a whole inventory page full of items. Number of locations scaled back so that you don't get between 15 different screens and you don't know which of your 300 items to use on which item. Like they really like condensed it down to just the essence of what a point and click was and made it much more approachable and much more funny. And I just really fell in love with that. I think that was the first point and click that I have really truly enjoyed in like decades, honestly. And so they carved out a special place in my heart. I love Darkside Detective number 1, love number 2. And that just kind of to me was like the renaissance of the point and click. Modern era point and click is what I kind of think of when I think of these. I think of Nine Witches. I think of Wadjet I put one out that was just incredible, and the name I'm blanking on the name right now. Unavowed?
You said the name.
Wadjet I?
You said Wadjet I. Oh no.
Oh, why did you? Oh, what? Tell me. What's the connection?
Anybody. Oh my god! I opened up my phone and Steam started again. I feel like any time that somebody brings up Wadjet Eye, just conversation then descends into this pit. Like, because what a specific developer publisher about just like what their output is.
Super specific. Is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you have experience with them?
I don't think I particularly enjoy anything that they've put out, but I always want to hear other people talk about what they think of their output, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And I have not, okay, tangent. I have not been through the entire Wadjet Eye library. I believe I own every single game they've ever made, but I've only played all the way through Unavowed. I think it's Unavowed. Is that right? Maybe I'm getting it wrong. That was incredible. That was a great game for me, a person who fucking hates point and click games. And I got through it all the way. I think I only needed help like maybe once or twice in the whole game. So that's pretty good for me. Great story, great voiceover, great writing. I had like a wonderful time with it. I have tried a couple of their other games, and they usually end up being a little bit too point and clicky for me, and my brain just doesn't work that way. But Unavowed was incredible. I would recommend that to anybody, whether they're a point and click fan or not. So that was like another good one back then. So anyway, super tangent, but we're getting back to why am I even talking about this? Because PR sent me a code for the demo of Darkside Detective, the third game in the series, Backside of the Moon, which I was really excited about. Love the first game, love second game. This one is not out yet, but the demo is now available on Steam, and it was under embargo. So just to give you folks listening a kind of a peek behind the curtain, I have a whole like document where I keep like my future shows, what date those shows are going to run, what the embargoes are for each game. So I kind of keep a list so I keep myself organized. Otherwise, there's no way I would be able to do any of this. And so they gave me the code a while ago. They're like, oh, well, the embargo is, I think it's like the 19th, which was just a couple days ago. But I got the code like weeks before that. And I'm like, oh, that's plenty of time. I'll get to it. Absolutely. And of course, I probably forgot about it once I wrote it down. So like last night, I'm checking the script for this morning and I'm spitting my drink out. I'm like, fuck, I haven't played that game. Supposed to play it and it's like tomorrow. So I ran downstairs this morning before the recording. Jeremiah texted you. I'm like, oh shit, I got to play this game before the show. I promised the guy. And I played it. Luckily, it's a short demo. It's only like 15 minutes or so. Had a great time. And also, Jeremiah, I told you to go and download the demo, and you did, and you played it. So tell us what you thought about the demo.
Yeah, so I downloaded a demo. It was maybe not the demo. I absolutely did your like your grandmother trying to buy you a video game at Target.
You bought a Nintendo?
And just typed in Darkside Detective in Steam. It was like, first result, let's go. Because like there couldn't possibly be more than one. That'd be stupid. So I played the demo for the first game, which I was into it. So I guess I would go back. But yeah, I don't have any grounding for the demo you played.
Well, that's actually fine. This works out perfectly because I will say that the Darkside Detective games, there will ultimately be 3. We're talking about the demo for 3, but 1 and 2 are already out. And they're effectively the same game. They like to have the same graphics. They have the same, same interface, same style, same formula. But that's fine. I think what they do is really, really good. And I don't really need them to like super innovate anything. So it's ironic that the demo you played for the first Darkside Detective, I think is probably equally effective as it is for number 3, because while I played the demo for 3, you played the demo for 1, we played different cases, but the same thing of like talking between the two cops, finding the items, seeing the cheeky writing and the jokes and stuff like that. I think that's kind of the same experience you're going to get. So I don't think it was time lost. Did you enjoy it at all, or what did you think of it?
I did enjoy it. I'm kind of with you. I'm not much of like my adventure game period is well behind me.
Yeah.
Like just rubbing pixels together.
Oh, I'm done with that shit. I'm done with it. Yeah.
It's not something that I will apologize to all modern games in this particular genre. You are graded against all of my previous experiences as like a teenager and like a younger child, like playing Sierra games and like
LucasArts, yes,
like LucasArts games and stuff like that. So when I was like, yeah, sure, I'll see what this game is. Like, I guess it's one of these. To give them some credit, I was like, okay, I'm getting what I need. Items make sense. Like, I felt that the solutions to things made sense. Like, of course, you have to be along for the ride. obviously, but I'm not, it's not the like pulling a rubber chicken kind of thing, right?
Yes, you're not collecting cat hair from a dustbin and then getting water and powder to make glue and then combining the glue with the cat hair and then putting it on as a mustache to get past a guard. I mean, that's going too far. So it's not anywhere in that ballpark. Yeah,
infinitely less LSD.
Yes, exactly.
For this particular developer, I can see. So, I would go back and play a little bit more of it. I don't know if I would make it all the way through it, but
Gotcha.
maybe. But I did, I like a little punchy writing from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, same. I think that's really the biggest thing that I like about this is the writing is really fun and it is punchy. Like they just give you one or two lines and that's all you need. Like when you're doing an experience like this, I played a point and click recently, and I don't even remember what it was. I think I tried to actively erase it from my memory, but like you would click on something and it would be like a page of text, and I'm like, no, I don't need this much text. I just want the flavor or a hint or something, and let me just move on. And I get that maybe that's a taste thing. If you're a person who loves reams of text every time you click on like one object in a room, this is not the game for you probably. But I think the jokes are really funny. A lot of self-referential, a lot of meta-referential stuff like that. Like in the demo that I played, they were making jokes about movies, and one of the characters didn't understand the movie, so he just like directly referenced the movie. And it was just kind of like a joke upon a joke, and it was just really funny. The case that I played was about the two main characters, the two detectives getting shrunk down, like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of a moment. And so you're trying to like figure out how to get back to normal size. It's about 15, 20 minutes or so. And I believe it's available on Steam. Check it out for yourself if you are curious about this. But I think this is an excellent example of a modern point and click that I think is very, I don't know, breezy is maybe perhaps the right word, where it has the bones of that old adventure style gaming, but they just take so much of the bullshit out of it in just the best possible way. I just think they're really fun. They're a great fit on the Switch. I played 1 and 2 on the Switch, and I think they work wonderfully on the Switch. Also, if you are not familiar with Spooky Doorway, they also made Seance of Blake Manor, which came out last year and kind of blew up a little bit. That was a little bit of an indie hit. Did you play Blake Manor?
That was them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you play that one?
No, I did not, but that's a kind of like on the radar one for me.
So they broke form to do Seance of Blake Manor, but I heard literally nothing but good things about it, and I actually have a copy of that as well, which I need to get to. And Spooky Doorway, if you're listening, please put that on a console, because I'm just so PC averse I can't play it. I think I'm secretly waiting for it to hit PlayStation or something, but I do have a copy of that. So these folks at Spooky Doorway are just making good game after good game after good game, and I really think that they are just really underappreciated right now. So I thought the demo of Darkside Detective Backside of the Moon was great. I'm going to definitely play that when it comes to console for sure. I've played 2 of their 3 previous games, loved them both, and I've heard nothing but good about the third. These are good people doing good work, and I think we should shine a spotlight on it. So here you go. Check it out. I'm going to wishlist it. You wishlist it too. Check it out, and I think it's going to be a really, really great play if you like this kind of stuff.
I can wrap up like the Voyager thing, the Wadget Eye conversation, the Spooky Door thing, kind of all in one place. And I'm even going to bring in AI to this. As a this is a positive note.
Okay.
I promise.
All right, okay.
Which is like, for the Voyager thing, I am not into that, but I love that you, like people who are into this thing, you got something that was scoped appropriately and is good, like something that you enjoy, that was for you,
yes.
That kind of rewards your involvement, and like it was made by people who care about, I would think, kind of care about the same things that you care about.
Yes.
It's got some apparently some crappy like art in there, but still like that was part of the budget, right? Part of the scope, right? They used what they had, and you got something that was for you. And like you've got Wadget Eye kind of doing like somebody who's just sticking to their fucking guns.
Yeah.
And like they do exactly what they do, and they're not stepping away from it.
They're in their lane. Exactly.
Yeah, same thing with like Spooky Door, where it's like, hey, what if your point and click adventure games, but like infinitely more concise? And if we're going to have tools like, I'm going to say this in a positive way. If we're going to have tools like AI, which can help a developer like chew through like boilerplate, like you don't have to write the same bit of code you've written 1,000 times before. This is the type of stuff that this is what the reward for integrating that tool on the other side is. Like, you get specialized output because kind of like the floor comes up and the ceiling comes down. I don't know. Like, people are able to do more with what they already have.
Right,
so like, stick to your, like, please stay in your niches and stick to your fucking guns.
Yes, I think that's a great point, because I think we don't have to be all things to all people. Not every game is for everyone in that way. And when someone finds something that they do well and there's an audience for it, it's okay to just like keep doing that thing. You're having a good time making it. People having a good time playing it. And I think that is true for a lot of games. So yeah, I think that's a very fair point. So I appreciate how far you went to wrap that up. You were really swinging for the fences on that one, and I feel like you made it home. So good job.
Stretching my arms way out. Just
good job. Podcast muscles flexing. Could hear the flexing. All right, let's move on. UFO 50. This is, I think I may have mentioned it on the show like once or something. But I bought this game. I was excited about it. I've heard many PC people talking about UFO 50. I was really jealous that it wasn't on console for a long time. I was so jealous. I almost was tempted to buy it, but it finally came to Switch. And I think it was you that told me that it came to Switch, wasn't it? Was that you that told me that?
Yes, I had posted because I had ordered the Fangamer did a physical version of UFO 50, and it came with the book. They did a like an old style strategy guide that came with it.
So UFO 50 from Derek Yu and a whole bunch of indie people. Essentially, it's like 50 little, I don't know what, NES era type throwback mini games condensed. And you've played it as well, yes? Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. I will hold my thoughts. So I guess tell us why are we interested? What did you like about it? What games did you like? Just give us the whole thing. Tell us about UFO 50.
Well, I liked Splunky enough to continue paying attention to Derek Yu. I am not a great Splunky player, but appreciate it enough to when it's like, hey, the next thing this person's doing, all right, I'm excited about it. And then to hear at the time that their goal was to create the entire catalog for a fictional 8-bit console and chart its history, chart this fake company's history through its beginning to its end was it was too good to pass up. Right?
Yeah.
Too fascinating to pass up. And I think because I bought it pretty much immediately when it showed up on Steam, and fell off of it really quickly.
All right, talk about that. I want to hear more.
Because here's the thing, is that even if you're somebody who cares about kind of the framing of what UFO 50 is, that you're a person that opened up a storage unit, and you found this old thing that it kind of looks like an amalgamation of an Apple II and a Commodore and all of this all in one. It just presents you with this screen, which is this grid of 50 icons on it, and they're all covered in dust, and as you open them for the first time, it blows the dust off of the cartridge.
Yeah.
But all of the information is there, but it's kind of buried in these text screens, and it you have to really go looking for that the flavor behind all of that. And I think that stuff is important because the games are, this is an interesting, I wish they would talk more about it, just the design and their expectations for what is it like for the person that's designing a game for UFO 50, and they're designing a game for 1982 of this.
Yeah. Because
the games are laid out in such a way where they improve over time. There are sequels to certain, there's 1, 2s, and 3s of certain games in there where they make clear iterative improvements or conceptual changes to something. There's one called Campanella. That's so there's Campanella 1, 2, and 3, and they're largely kind of different games. So like that part's fascinating, but it's hard to parse. What changed it for me is getting this printed strategy guide that they put out that allows you to read all of the little histories.
The fake histories.
Yeah, all of like the little fake histories for it, and gives you kind of an easy reference for how each of the games work. Some of them are very easy to parse. There are some in there that are... there's like a dinosaur... What is it? Avanos? There's like a strategy game in there that is like... You just open that thing and you're like, what the fuck are we doing here?
I had that experience, yes.
Yeah, and this like little printed strategy book, like this is the thing that like UFO 50 needed. Like I almost wish that there was like just a PDF copy that they would like be willing to hand out to people.
Yeah.
Because you can get that information in the game itself. Like you go into the game and there's like 4 tabs for it, then you can kind of like see the history. But it really does not help you, like it does not like onboard you to those games. So like my overall feeling with this is that like I love the idea. I was happy to immediately like push my money towards it. Found it hard to go back to over time. Then I got this physical copy with this book, and then I spent like a good 2 weeks like kind of going like rediscovering what was in there, and it was like a much better experience.
Interesting. That is fascinating, and hearing you talk about it, I do think that maybe they did miss a beat. Maybe they should have made a PDF available, or I don't even know, maybe there is one or something. Maybe if you go to the UFO 50 website, maybe you can download something. But I was super excited about this. I heard people talking about it, and it was like, it was the indie circle people who I listened to, and they were like very, very on fire about it. Like I said, at the point that I felt a little bit jealous that we didn't have it on console. So I snatched it up as soon as you told me it was on Switch, and I fired it up, and I think, man, I fell off it like almost immediately. I was like, wow, like I didn't even get through all 50 games, where I just started in the top left corner of this giant grid of games. And I'm like, all right, let's see what's what. And man, just like a lot of them, without having the book, without having any knowledge other than what the game presents to you, and knowing that it was, intentionally supposed to be kind of a throwback experience. I just found so many of the games like super just not fun to play. Like there was one where you were like a ninja and you're jumping, and it's just like stuff always hits you at exactly the moment when they know you're going to be jumping, which I do not need that in my life anymore. And there was a couple games, like you said, where you open up and I'm like, I don't even understand what's happening. I don't even know what's going on here. Like, I don't understand what the point of it is. And a lot of this stuff was just like, just not fun. So I think from an intellectual perspective, or as a design challenge, or as like some kind of a statement piece on game development or the history or the advancement of game development, I think it's interesting. But I think, hearing you say this, I think maybe I would have needed some of these design documents, or maybe that would be the ultimate way to enjoy it, was to maybe read a page about this thing and then check it out for like a minute or two and be like, okay, cool. And then like move on. Not that you need to necessarily play all of these games. It reminds me a little bit of some of those recent compilations of like, like the Atari one, where they put together all the Atari games, but they also had archival footage, and they had documents, and they had PR art and stuff like that. So like you would watch, what is it, like Atari 50 or whatever it's called? I forget what it's called, but
yeah. Well, Atari 50 was the one where they have all like the documentary stuff.
It must have been that
it,
one. Yeah, they did a couple of those, but I think it's what I'm talking about. Where like you look at the thing, you read the thing, you see, I don't know, Nolan Bushnell or something come on, and he's talking about this thing, or here's an anecdote about how we rescued this arcade cabinet. I'm like, oh, that's really cool and fun. What a cool story. And then you go and play the arcade cabinet, and I'm like, cool. I'm gonna play this for like 2 minutes, and like I don't need any more of this. But how amazing that I got to play the thing you just talked about. And I think maybe like in a sense of that, like I would appreciate UFO 50 more. Maybe I'd read a page, think it was cool, play that game for 2 minutes and go, okay, cool. And just like move on. But like, just as it is handed to me, I did not connect with like any of the games that I played. I didn't feel, maybe like one or two of them. I'm like, okay, this is like, okay. But not anything that I would want to come back to. And I found that after I had put it down, impossible to pick it back up. I would like immediately look for something else to play on the Switch, rather than go to that. So I think from just a sheer gameplay engagement perspective, for me, it was like super not a go. And it was kind of funny because I was so excited, and like the disparity between the level of excitement and the level of enjoyment was like a huge chasm difference between a galaxy of difference between what I thought it was going to be and what it ended up being. So I think maybe I need something else on this. I bounced and I haven't been back to it since like the week I bought it, I think.
Yeah, it's a similar experience to me as well. I mean, alone, I believe the very first game in the list that you can play, like the very first game that you might play if you just start from one, is, what is it, Barbuta?
Something like that, yeah.
Fucking well, and so if you know, like if you're kind of going along for the ride that they're setting up for you, you would know that this is supposed to be this company's first game. And it is very specifically designed to be this, like, very small, like, very difficult, just kind of first pass.
Yeah.
At a video game. Like, and it's... UFO 50 is asking, like, it is asking something very difficult from you, from the player, which is like, you have to, like, you're not only coming in here to play like these little games, you have to kind of like pretend that you're playing them kind of in their moment.
Yeah.
You know, that you're experiencing this as like a holistic catalog, like a chronological catalog of what was here. Something that I find fascinating about it, again, would love to hear them talk more about it, is like some of them are just kind of stinkers.
Yeah, they are. They really are, dude. They are.
And it's like I feel that, like, objectively, like, I even kind of, as I like would read through portions of this book, like, I think they know which ones were kind of the, like, the mid, like, kind of the, like, yeah, like, this is something that would aesthetically kind of round out, you know, be comparable to like Nintendo or Sega doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, they would have put like a weird puzzle game here. They would have put like a derivative, like, vertical shooter here. Like, because this is just what you would have to kind of round out the catalog. They might make an attempt at doing a thing, but they wouldn't, but we didn't know how to do that then. They're very, you can see that intent in a lot of them, but that doesn't necessarily make it fun to play, right?
Yeah.
There are some fascinating things in there, though. I would tell you that, like, let's flip through this book here. There's Party House, which is a card game where you're like going, you know, it's kind of like a deck builder in a way, where you're like trying to throw a party, trying to get guests into your party. There is Golfaria. There's like a golf RPG where you play as the ball. One of them that I would encourage you to go back and look at,
mm-hmm.
and like flavor wise. So if you played Barbuta,
yeah,
that's the one where, like, when you step out, like, it immediately kills you. There's like a trap tile.
Yeah, I think so.
Like,
yeah,
to the right of the door. Yeah, where they're like, get ready. We know you loved A Boy and His Blob. Let's go. The sequel to Barbuta, the spiritual sequel to it, is called Mooncat.
Okay.
And Mooncat is fucked. It looks weird. It does, like, the whole, like, the thing that you're playing as is just a little nightmare. And its control scheme is just bizarre. So,
and why would I be going back to this one now? Because you're not selling.
Because I think it's because I'm not telling you that you would, like, finish it, but I think that, like, it's one of the interesting things that they can do here. Because as they sell it, they're like, well, you know, this crazy fucking designer who made Barbuta, like, this is his, like, this is the next part of this, like, auteur story.
Yeah.
And so there's 2 buttons that you use. There is left on the D-pad, and it would be A on the Switch, right?
Probably, yeah.
I think. So you have left and right. So when you press the left button, the character goes to the left. When you press it, you do to the right. And then you do combinate, like you'll hold to the right and then press L to jump, or you'll to the right. You'll press L and then hit R to jump to the left. So you're always like you can only ever move left and right, and you're using combinations of left and right to perform moves in this platformer. It's kind of brutal, but I think it's interesting, right? Like maybe you don't stick with it, but I think that's an interesting one in here. There's like a 20-hour RPG in here.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
What is it called? Grimstone. It's like a Western themed RPG.
I think
it's worth looking at. Like there's some stuff that's worth going back and looking at.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't need to play Combat Ants. I gave you that recommendation. I suppose that one's kind of mean because that game actually I like Combat Ants, but I know that I believe it is voted the single worst game in UFO 50.
I think you left that part out when you recommended it to me.
I left that part out. Because it's trying to like it's almost like somebody like, what if someone tried to do Pikmin on an 8-bit console?
Yeah.
That's why I love it. It doesn't really work.
Yes. I mean, what you're saying makes sense, and I think that's a great idea. I wish there was perhaps a different presentation of UFO 50. Maybe if there was some kind of interstitial game or story, maybe like if you were playing along with the developers somehow, and like maybe you would do a little bit with them or get some cutscenes or something to explain what this was, and then you play a little bit of the game. I think it's just like lacking that content. And again, me not having the book or having any documentation at all, just based on what the game presents you, it's kind of a miserable experience unless you were like a really hardcore, you're into like 8-bit games and you really derive a lot of enjoyment from just how those games play, which, I mean, I know there's people like that out there, but I'm not sure that that's like what people are really into these days. So it left me pretty cold, but I think as a concept and a premise, cool. I like it and I'm very interested in it, but I think the way that it hit and just what you do with it and how you interact with it just didn't work for me. So maybe like more to it or wrapping it up in a different wrapper would make a bit of a difference for me. But anyway,
last point on it as well, and I didn't realize this until I revisited it, is that there's kind of a progression system.
How so?
Like a top level progression system in that. So as you play those games, as you move through them, the color of the cartridge will change in the collection. So you'll get, I believe there's like a bronze, there's like 3 different colors. Like the last one is cherry. So when you've kind of, UFO 50 will kind of tell you when you're done with a game. Like it'll kind of tell you like, nope, you've seen it, like you've done the thing. There is, it will directly communicate to you that you've done it. And those goals are in there, but again, you have to go looking.
I don't think I was even remotely aware of that, yeah.
Well, that's because again, like it doesn't onboard you. It literally just drops you into the middle of this thing, like intentionally so, right? It wants to give you the experience of you found a box of cartridges, go nuts. But it is as interesting as it is. Like I do agree with you. Like that part of that aspect of it is repellent. Well, so like if you like UFO 50, you like that idea, and maybe you're like similar to where Brad and I were. This, I don't know if they sell a digital version of this guide, but like this guide that they put together it's kind of, I would tell you it's the missing piece that they needed from the beginning.
I think that you are probably correct, because like hearing you talk about it definitely kind of reframes things, and that is perhaps the component that was needed to kind of like seal the deal and kind of make this stuff hang together in a better way. So maybe maybe I'll check it out, or maybe if you're thinking about like you said, Jeremiah, maybe see if you can get the documentation, or maybe it's available somewhere online, because I definitely think you need more than just what you get from the game itself. So all right, that is UFO 50. Let's move on here. Let me talk for a minute about Down Among the Dead Men. This is a graphic novel, I guess, in the most literal sense, in that it is replicating the old school choose your own adventure books from way, way, way back in the day. Have you ever read one? Do you know choose your own adventure, Jeremiah? You are of the age.
I am the one that I remember the most prominently. I had like there was like 3 at the time. I had both of the Super Mario Brothers ones and the Zelda one.
I don't think I've ever seen those ones. I don't.
Yeah, no, there was a Super Mario Brothers and a Legend of Zelda Choose Your Own Adventure.
Interesting. I'll have to
book.
Google those. No, I don't think I've ever seen those. I was just like with the regular Choose Your Own Adventures back in the 80s where one was like a haunted house and one you're on a pirate ship and one you're in space. For those who don't know, I mean, I guess just, Google it real quick. You can check them out. But there were these books that were like mega popular back in the day where you'd read a little bit of story and then you get to a choice and it'd be like, if you want choice A, go to page 10. If you want choice B, go to page 12. And then you would go to that page, read what happened, and then you'd have further choices or you would die. I mean, it was just like everybody and their brother was playing those things. They were like hugely popular. There ended up being like 50 or 75 of those books in the series. Other people that had like spin-off and like Temu versions of those books and stuff. There was like all over. So like it was mega thing. Definitely a thing. There have been a couple video game iterations of these. I think Fighting Fantasy probably has the most available in like a video game format. There's been a couple other ones as well, but this is in that spirit. You play a person who is basically a captive on a pirate ship, and then you have to like get off the ship, and then you make your choices from there. So what you see on the screen, I'm playing this on PlayStation, by the way. On the left side of the screen, it literally looks like a book on your screen, like an open book. And the left page is text, and there's a lot of text to read. They really want you to like actually read. This is definitely like
it's literally a book.
It's literally a book, for sure. It's definitely literally a book. And then at the bottom of each page, there'll be a couple choices. Go to page X, go to page Y. There's a character stats page that'll tell you the type of character you are. There's like adventurer, rogue, ruffian, barbarian, whatever. Like they're all vaguely the same, but they have different starting items and like slightly different stats. And then on the right side of the book, there will be some kind of image. In general, and for the vast majority of the game, you get an image of a ship that is sailing on the water. That one image over and over and over and over and over and over again. And to be fair, it looks cool to see the ship sailing on the water like that. It's kind of a neat little image, but like when you see it 85 times, it does lose a little bit of luster. So you read the page, and then you decide what do you want to do. Now, this in itself, this premise works for me. I like this premise. I have played other electronic types of this kind of thing, and like it's fun. It's good. It's a good time, especially if you've grown up with those things. But even if you haven't, still pretty fun because doing the writing. You can do a lot of things that you don't need to like 3D model for. You don't need to have special effects for. You can get a lot of stuff by using the internal hardware in your brain to kind of imagine those things just like a regular book does. And I think that's cool. It's a good idea. But I will say there has to be kind of like a bare minimum to go up from that, because if you're not going to leverage the electronic medium, I will just read the book. Like, just give me the book. I can keep my stats on a piece of paper. That's fine. Different expectations. But you're going to put it on the PlayStation. I expect that you're going to do things here that will leverage the ability to deliver graphics, the ability to do like a little bit of special effects. Do something here that could not have been replicated in a piece of paper book. And I don't think the developers clear that bar. Like I said, they have images on the right side of the screen. And for the vast majority of the game that I played, I did not finish this one. But it's just the ship, and it's like, this is a cool picture, but like, give me other pictures. You could have hired somebody to do more than just this one picture. They have voiceovers for the text, and I believe it's like an AI reading voice because it's really flat. They do not give you emphasis where the places you think it should be. I ended up turning off the voice because I didn't want to listen to it. I don't know for a fact it's AI, but it sounds like what you would do if you put it into an AI reader. It seems really low key and cheap. And I feel like the writing is like, it's okay, but I don't feel like you really get enough. I think it kind of starts off pretty quickly, and then when you get to the choices leave a lot to be desired. So, for example, you'll read a passage. Yeah, you're going to plan to get off the ship. You have a couple of choices. Here's your choices. And the choices will be literally like one word. It'll be like dinghy, supplies, fight. And you're like, okay, but like what? Like, get it in the dinghy and go where? Fight who? What kind of supplies am I looking for? And you kind of just have to like blindly choose one of those. And I'm like, you got to give me more than that, because even in the Choose Your Own Adventure books back in the day, they would always say, oh, if you think you're tough enough to fight this big gorilla and all you have is an iron pipe, go to page 6. If you're starving and you want to make yourself a corned beef sandwich, go to page 7. You know, like they would give you a little bit more. And a lot of these I was like, what? I don't understand what I'm choosing, man. Like I'm just like vaguely guessing. And sometimes the choice that I would choose wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I'm like, okay, this sucks. So like, I feel like this is a good format. I like the idea of being on a pirate ship having to escape. I like, you know, I'm down to read. I like words. I'm not allergic to books. But if you're going to put it on a video game console, I need you to be more than what I could get from a book. Otherwise, just give me the book. So I feel like this is a pretty low rent version of what this game could be. I felt like it was pretty disappointing. A lot of corners cut, not very fancy. And I feel like this is kind of a fail for me. So I ended up not having a good time with this, but I think I would have enjoyed it more as a book. Or if they had done more than one picture or done a better job with the bells and whistles, I think I would have stuck with it longer. So ultimately did not stick with this one.
Generative AI is right there. Just making it. Just ask for another picture of a boat. Just pour a bottle of water on that server and get another boat.
I suspect the one picture they did have probably was generative AI too. So, well, you know, sorry to cut you off, but on that note, when you go to pick your character, there's like 8 or 10 different types of pirates, and I remember thinking every single one of these pirates looks like every other pirate. What the fuck is going on? I bet they generative AI did all these and like only changed one word for the prompt, and that's why all the pirates look like they're fucking sextuplets or whatever.
And not sex pirates, which AI can, you know,
they can do that too.
You just juice the prompt a little bit, and you'll get sex pirates, a sextuplet of sex pirates.
I'm sure someone's done that.
I mean, I believe that's what we talked about last time. This brings to mind when I can't remember what they called it now. When they did that big glow up of Final Fantasy Tactics that came out last year. Yeah. So one of the things that they restored to it were the sound novels that were missing from it. So you talking about this, I'm thinking back to all of that discussion that was happening at the time of like, the fuck is a sound novel?
I don't even know what this is. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So, right. So maybe this helps you like frame it better. There is a genre distinction of the sound novel, and what you played would be considered a sound novel, which is you are literally reading a book. Mm-hmm. That's the goal. Like you showed up to read a book in a digital format with some amount of like multimedia mixed into it. Okay. So this was I'm going to tell you at least what I know about it. So this was something that Final Fantasy Tactics had in it in Japan. The sound novel, like it had sound novels in them. So like there is stuff that you read, and you know you get like footsteps or some Foley work in the background. Maybe you get a choice here or there, but ultimately, like there is this genre of software was designed to just take a book and kind of enrich your experience. But like 90% of the time, you're there to read the book. We didn't get these in the United States at the time because, I mean, those people don't read.
Right. I was going to say who reads.
It's like, that's pretty much what it was, right? But like Ace Attorney, like a lot of the things that, I don't know, like what happened at the time is like everybody was like, now we can really debate what's like an adventure game, a dating sim, or a sound novel. So, like Ace Attorney games are technically sound novels where you're kind of like, you're making some choices, but really you're here to kind of like read the book. Right?
I've never heard anybody call it that before.
Danganronpa is considered a sound novel.
Okay. All right.
Instead of an adventure game, right? Because you're not doing like what you would do in the Darkside detective games that we were just talking about, right? Exactly. You're really just kind of here to like read through the book, and the boys aren't kissing, so it's not a dating sim. Also, so yeah, sound novels. Now this is reminding me that you and I have like not talked about something for quite a while, and that is the last version of Shiren the Wanderer that showed up like
the most recent one
ago. And the only reason why I'm saying that is that Chunsoft is responsible for creating sound novels as a thing,
Really?
Sound novels came from Chunsoft.
What was the first one? Do we know?
Let's see here if I can get it out here. There's anybody can go to soundnovels.com. I really appreciate this person for registering a website so they can publish just like one 5-paragraph article about what a sound novel is. This is the type of internet shit I need more of in my life. Let me see if he lists it here of what the first one would be.
That's amazing. I'm gonna check this out myself. I've actually never heard of this. This is all new information for me.
So maybe you can return to this experience that you were having under the guise of that, like, really what you're interacting with is a sound novel.
Wow, you weren't kidding. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The dude got the website and domain name for literally 6 brief paragraphs of text, and that's all there is here. That's incredible. Respect, like hardcore respect, dude.
Yeah, no. Again, this is the internet. This is, look. If we don't want the dead internet, this is what you got to do.
I'm down for this.
You gotta register a domain and just like hamster dance it, man. It's a tiled GIF of dancing hamsters, and that's all that hamsterdance.com is.
That's all it is. All right, soundnovels.com. Everybody listening, check it out if you like. This is incredible. I'm going to read this and learn something new. So maybe so. This is new information to me. Maybe it's going to reframe what I thought. But based on what I saw, with my limited understanding of sound novels, basically zero, I do feel like it's a little bit too low rent, and I really don't appreciate the AI voice. If they had so for example, if they had an actual voice actor, which they do not, they just have a male voice reading with weird intonations and weird pronunciations. If they had an actual, like if Patrick Stewart was reading this book, I'd be like, oh shit, okay, different story. Like, you get involved. I
would literally listen to Patrick Stewart read the ingredients from a box of cereal.
Totally.
That's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, you get somebody who can read, dramatically. I'm in. But they, shortcut there, only one page. I mean, they could have paid any number of people on the internet, $10 a page to do some sketches, which would be more than what they have here. So, I mean, from that respect, I feel like it's really, very cheaply made, which is disappointing. But the bones are here. They could have done more. I learned something new, so I'm glad we talked about it. But as it is, without further information, definitely a thumbs down, but who knows? Maybe this will recontextualize things. So anyway, Down Among the Dead Men did not stick with it, but boy, we took a journey on that little piece. That was a very welcome and yet unexpected growth opportunity for me. I am now more enriched as a person. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Maybe that was their whole goal. You don't know. It's a genre aim.
You never know. I guess we'll never know. Okay, over to you, sir. Final Fantasy, historically, Final Fantasy 14, is that correct?
That's what we're talking about.
That's the one. I think I've played it for maybe 7 minutes, 9 years ago or whatever. We don't really talk about it on the show, and yet it's still a thing, as evidenced by you. And so maybe people out there who like to play this specific game or MMOs will be enriched by what you're bringing to the table. Tell us a little bit about this particular game, your journey with it. I mean, it must be years at this point, I'm guessing. Still playing it? What's it all about? I don't know. Tell us something about it, man.
I mean, with the way that I saw everybody talk about a Voyager video game, you absolutely have some 14 sickos somewhere in your Discord server. There's no Final Fantasy 14 sickos are like ants. They're just kind of there. Every now and then you see one and you trace the path back, and then you find a lot more of them. Yeah,
that's scary.
So high level, for the people who would actually understand what I'm talking about, is for quite a while I had kept myself away from Final Fantasy 14. It was just it's a huge undertaking to play any MMO, right? And then you're paying money. You're also consistently paying money in to have the opportunity to partake in it. So I had stayed away from it for quite a while. I was in 14 in the early days when A Realm Reborn was put out. So a reminder, or maybe if you've never encountered this before, Final Fantasy 14 came out and everyone hated it. They literally blew that game up in the world.
I do remember that. I do remember that, yes.
In game, like, they're like, cool, well, it's time for Bahamut. He is going to just wreck, like, he's literally taking this video game offline. They did a big ceremony for it and everything.
Which is cool if you're going to do it. I mean, do it with style, right? I appreciate
that. They went all the way. So what you get from that, then, is 14, A Realm Reborn. And what's interesting is that then A Realm Reborn calls back to the game that exploded. Like, yeah, remember that one time that we had that game that blew up? Yeah, it's crazy. And by all accounts, like, A Realm Reborn was very successful. It was kind of the thing that everybody was looking for at the time. I was there in the early days, and I just fell off, right? Because, like, it's an MMO, and it demands, like, MMO things from you, like joining a guild and grinding and, like, getting ready for raids. So left it for quite a while. At the very beginning of COVID, Endwalker comes out. So they get 5 expansions into this thing. And they are finally wrapping up a story that they've been slow burning for a decade in 2021. And at that point, I can no longer tolerate not being a part of it. So I go back and I have to, something happened with my account. It had an authenticator token that I couldn't access anymore. So had to start completely over.
Oh, wow.
Which is fine. Like, and then started the grind through it. If you haven't played that, like, so Brad, for you, like, there's the base game, and there are 5 expansions to this. Each one of them is easily like a 60-hour plus Final Fantasy game.
Wow, okay.
In size. I think if you were to sit down and just try to do this and get up to the expansion that came out in 2025, you're putting 400 hours down on the table to do it. I am not exaggerating.
No, dude, I believe you. I fully believe you. I know you're not exaggerating, for sure. I get it.
I think you're really trucking. I think if you come in around the 300 to 4 hour mark. So, I have finally, after all this time, made it to Endwalker. And that's mostly what I've been doing for, like, the past 2 months. I just decided, like, okay, we've slow burned this enough. Like, I log in every morning and I, like, do my dailies. It's kind of like my coffee routine.
Okay.
So 14 has become my, like, third space in that way. I'm not in a guild. I don't have a particular community that I'm part of. I just kind of show up every morning, and it's like, I know where everything's at. I know where all my little buddies are, and do this thing. So I made a decision in February. I was like, we are going to, like, I'm going to slam the pedal to the floor. We are going to do, like, let's get the fuck through this. And, you know, they did this 4th expansion, Shadowbringers, which is like a really good Final Fantasy game. Like, I don't think you could slice it out and, like, make it its own thing, but it's like, well, damn, that was a good one. Like, story-wise, right, if you care about Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. And then now I'm here watching them kind of, like, wrap everything up, and they are going just buck wild. Like, I bet, like, for all of you that would have played this in 2021, like, I believe Yoshi P was, like, maybe dying of cancer at the time. That, like, he lived, but, like, was dealing with some sort of, like, I don't know, like, high stage cancer at the time. So, like, a lot of those themes of him, like, suffering through that are in there. It's like, there's a bit of, like, an infection narrative that's going on. I'm sure in 2021 it was fucking you guys up, because they're going wild. They're just, everybody, like, they are delivering to me Mass Effect level 3 levels of wrapping up a story.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Where, like, everybody's getting an explainer. And it's great. I love it. But that's kind of like where I've spent my time. 14 is such a strange thing. I've spent 800 plus hours playing playing an MMO pretty much by myself.
So, okay, so let me ask you some questions. Knowing literally fuck all nothing about this game other than the fact that it exists. I guess, so number one, we don't have to get into the nuts and bolts of this, but like playing it by yourself, when it's an MMO, do you just like group up with randos once in a while when the game requires you to? Does the game even require you to? Like how do you deal or relate to the MMO aspect of it if you play most of it just on your own?
Yeah, I would say it's up there with like Elder Scrolls does this too, where like you can go into the Elder Scrolls Online and largely you can just kind of play like an enormous amount of Elder Scrolls by yourself and maybe call on a friend every now and then and get through the story. Final Fantasy XIV is very much the same, where the main storyline is very clearly marked. Like you know what is the main story and what is not. Like there's even an interface component that kind of like lets you not forget what it is. Rarely, I would say maybe 2, maybe 3 times per expansion, not counting kind of the start of it, they require you to do a dungeon, or they have boss fights. So dungeons are 4 people, boss fights are 8, and they will require you that you need to go into the duty finder, like the pickup group interface, and you need to do this thing with other people. Go do it with go find your friends or go do it with strangers. They don't do it very often. Maybe a frustrating part is what they do it at points where, like, huge story moments where like I have been stuck for, I think I got stuck for like a week at a time, like not being able to progress through the story because I just couldn't get the I'm on a low population server because I'm just doing story content, and I just could not get the group finder to pop for me.
Just
for
not
this.
enough people around, huh?
I was like, stories, like story done until I can get people in here, or until like I guess I could have found a guild to be part of, right? That's probably, which is much harder. Like have you ever been in a guild before, Brad? Have you ever experienced what it's like to be in a guild?
I don't think in the sense that you mean it. I think the answer is no. I'm pretty solitary when it comes to games. That thought makes me break out in hives.
Okay. It is a very unique experience to just this style of game, to maybe a generation as well, where you're just kind of, you just kind of end up in this like IRC channel, right? Or like, I don't know, Discord emulates this pretty well. You're just kind of in this like large channel full of people you don't know. And ideally there's rules and expectations about like what you bring to the guild. So they're not all like that. There are some casual ones, but you just kind of get like dunked in the tank where you're like, hey friends, hey group of like 300 plus friends maybe, I need help with the dungeon, and it's almost the same as like getting to know strangers, except for now you're affiliated under a single banner. Oh,
you know what? Okay, I lied. That's not true. I actually did something like this for Marvel Puzzle Quest, which is just like a phone game, but there was like a huge meta aspect to it, and we did like have a whole chat channel that was related to it. And when they would have big group events, we would all like work together. So yeah, okay. So I've done something similar, not to the extent that you're describing, but I think I've had a flavor of it. Thankfully, most people were pretty cool, so it wasn't a big deal, and it was pretty casual interaction since it was just like everybody play your solitary phone game at the same time. But I get what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah, it's you're joining like a forum.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You're joining a forum, or you're joining a BBS. Like you, ideally over time, you kind of get to know these people. And guilds tend to have flavors to them. You kind of have to date a little bit.
Yeah.
To kind of to know if you're in for what works for you. So I've yet to join one. I'm gonna have to do it eventually.
Well, let me ask you this then. So I guess kind of semi-related to that. Like, if you do this Endwalker content, I mean, is that like the end of the story? I mean, I assume they're going to just keep the servers running for as long as it makes money, but like, is there a point to this at which you can just be like, I'm done with it? Like, I finished everything there was to do, and I don't have any. There's, maybe are they still making new quests for it? Are they finished with it? Are they going to update, or is it just like it's now as complete as it's going to be, other than just like patching things here and there? So like, is there an end stage for you, or is this just going to be like I'm just going to keep playing this because it's chill for as long as the servers are up kind of a thing? Or like, what's your relationship to it now, or what's the end state, or is there even an end state for you?
There's not an end state. So there was an expansion past Endwalker. So they kind of end their big 10-year arc, and then there's another expansion. So they are off doing something else. I've not reached that point yet, but they are kind of like spinning the story into like, not this story, but they're starting up a new arc.
So they have
we'll see
no slowdown in sight then.
No, it's, for the most part, it seems like it's pretty much about every 2 years, I think. There's 2 to 3 years there's an expansion.
All right.
So my goal is to just be through Dawn Trail. That is the one that came out in 2025. By the time that they start talking about another one, all of the, like, the thing that I would talk about mostly is just like, one, damn if it's not like an MMO where you can see where the money goes. The amount of attention that is paid to like voice acting and cutscenes and story and music. Like, music is 14's whole thing. Like, they are excessive in like the amount of attention that they pay to the scoring of an MMO. Like, to the point that they just have concerts for, they have their in-house band, the Primals, which will do performances. It's a fascinating production, especially against something like World of Warcraft and the ones that I know of, right? Which is, it's like this very like rich like multimedia experience where like I don't know what other people get out of World of Warcraft. They clearly get something, because I believe last month another World of Warcraft expansion.
Oh man,
launched.
I don't even know. I know people who still play World of Warcraft. And
yeah, I have a friend who does.
Yeah, they show up and I'm like, oh yeah, what you been playing? World of Warcraft. I'm like, damn, again, like still like. I mean, some people, that I know personally, that's the only game they play. So, which is kind of wild to me. Which is kind of touching back on this for you. Like, there's this whole aspect of you. You have a whole other life that like we don't ever talk about, and I don't really have any real relationship to. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of people. Where it's weird that like, well, I mean, I guess it just goes to show how big video gaming as a thing is, right? Where you can have all these offshoots, all these different specialties, all these, not even just genres, but like all these different like, absolute like worlds that people get into. I'm sure that some people are still playing what is that crazy one that's in space that like has been running forever? You know the one I'm talking about? Like,
are you talking about EVE Online?
EVE Online, yes, that one. Or like, Final Fantasy or whatever. Like, there's like these entire lifestyles, I guess, that like you can get into and just don't touch anybody else, and it's like this kind of like insulated thing. It's pretty fascinating to me because I don't have any relationship to any of those things. I think the closest I probably ever came was like Warframe when I played it for a year or two, and that was really fun, but even that didn't take over like my whole life basically. So it's really fascinating to hear that there's this thing and you're just like so deep into it. Like, you're like a lifer at this point. Are you gonna get a tattoo or anything, or
I don't know if I will. I don't know, that might be too far. But I love my little friends that are in there. I love the way that 14 like centers you as, it acknowledges you. The game is kind of in love with you, with your character, and all of your like the scions of the Seventh Dawn, like the characters that you stick with for like hundreds of hours. That you don't get a lot of time to like really get to know like a group of characters. I think it's a big problem with starting 14 is A Realm Reborn is very boring. It is absolute, like, World of Warcraft, like, early vanilla WoW, kind of like running through the environment and killing rats in that base game. And then at the very end, they get fucking spicy. Like, all out of nowhere. They're like, all right, that MMO shit we were doing was fun. We have now stalled enough that we have a story ready for you. So let's get started.
Is that like 100 hours after you start?
And A Realm Reborn is like one of the longer things that you would play. It's about, I think it comes in at about 80 hours.
Which is no small investment, so.
No, it is not. I mean, this has literally taken me 3 years to get to where I'm at now, and I still have another expansion left to go.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's wild. That's insane.
But yeah, I think like what I wanted out of all of this is like people who have like played 14 and they've been on this particular journey. I am over the halfway point in Endwalker and this story, like where they have taken this story, especially like after what Shadowbringers was, is insane. So I'm here with you all right now. I'm kind of at a point where I just kind of can't look away from it. Like, I am so invested, I just kind of can't look away from it anymore. And just kind of discovering over, like, the last 2 months that, like, I do kind of... People talk about, like, their third space games, right?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of discourse about that, or conversation about that over, like, the last year. Coming to realize, like, oh, I have one of these. Like, this is this thing that I log into, and I don't know, like, sometimes I just mine for resources, like, and then move on with my life. I've never had anything. This is the first time I've had anything like that. I wasn't even like that in WoW.
Interesting.
And I was a WoW player for up through Cataclysm. I was like in a raiding party and all that shit for World of Warcraft.
Well, it must fill some kind of gap for you. I mean, you're definitely like invested and you put so much time into it. So I hear that though. I mean, I get the appeal of wanting a place to go to, something that's stable, something that you know, something that is familiar. I mean, I definitely need that. I think all of us need that right now, especially here in America with everything going on, like our daily chaos. So, I mean, I can see the appeal for sure. I haven't found mine yet, but I get what you're saying. So we'll fill this in as the journey continues. I do want to hear how this goes, and maybe we'll touch back on this in 3 years when you've made a little bit of progress. And we can talk about the new expansion or whatever. We'll circle back. All right, let's change gears for a second. Let me talk about two bummers, but I think we're going to start strong. Just a quick word on Laysara Summit Kingdom. This is I wasn't even sure it is a name, and it is loosely based on, I guess, Tibetan area style cultures. The developers of the game are pretty careful to say it's not based on any one specific culture, but just kind of the vibes of that region of the world. So basically you start off on a series of mountains, and they're very very, very steep, and there's small flat area available in order to build towns and stuff. And so you get into it with the idea of like building an entire civilization on the sides of the mountain where you can fit them to be, which to me is really interesting. I don't play a lot of these kind of like town building type sim games. I'm looking for one, just personally, I'm looking for one that is a good balance between, like story and theme and playability with a little bit of depth, but usually I feel like most of these games go too deep, like much more deep than I want them to go. And I feel like the ones that make it to console generally are, not to say this in a mean way, but they're generally like less deep or more shallow than what you would typically get on PC. And that's what I'm shooting for. So that's not an insult. That's what I'm after. That's my goal. So this one looked like it might fit the bill. Pretty cool intro. You start off, and then they quickly introduce like the economy. There's like food to grow. There's buildings to put in there. There's kind of people that will live in these. There's like artisans, and there's field workers, and there's a couple other people. And you kind of just like have a very small amount of land available. Like we're talking like a shelf of granite on the side of a mountain. You don't get like some giant field. You don't get as much, land as you would get in like a SimCity or something like that. Like I think that the space challenge is really like fundamental to the experience of Laysara, which is cool. I was really interested in that. I think the graphics are great. I like the theme. I think it's really cool. But I will say that this game, unfortunately, despite being on console, goes a lot deeper and ends up being a lot fiddlier than I am a customer for. And that's just me coming from like the console world. Pretty quickly in the tutorial, they get into like, well, here's a number of different types of food, and the people that live here want these kinds of foods, and every time you set up a town, you got to like make sure that these people get the food they want, and they've got to live in a specific space, and they got to be close to the market, but the market's got to be close to like where the yaks are, because the yaks are the animals that are carrying the food back and forth. And it all just like spiraled really quickly, where I felt like I was really just I don't know, like dealing with a bunch of like meaningless bullshit that I didn't want to deal with. I was more interested in like taking advantage of the scene, like building something with like less upkeep and less persnickety people to deal with, I guess. And I know that's pretty common to the genre in general, but there have been a few that have found a really good balance between just playing the city builder and kind of like maybe having a little bit of a story thrown into it, and kind of like having various challenges, as opposed to I need to set up like 16 different concentric layers of system in order for this thing to function. And I think this one, for me anyway, goes too far into the minutia for me to be enjoyable. I just like really quickly got tired of like worrying about who needed what, and I was wishing the whole thing was like kind of simplified. So I think it's a great looking game. I really like the premise of it and the style and the vibes. Music is really strong. I think that's really good. But I think for me, it's just like too many details, and I was hoping it would be more puzzly. And to be honest, I think it is fairly puzzly in the sense that you've got such limited space to deal with. You know, like let's say, for example, you want to have a market, but in order to have the market, you need to have a certain number of yaks, because you need the yaks to carry your goods. And if you don't have the things, then it doesn't work. And so you've got to figure out, well, how can I fit 3 yak patties, but also have the store, but also I need to have this factory in order to have my income coming in. And so in that sense, I think it is fairly puzzly, which is interesting, and I like that aspect of it. But there was just like too much. I just by at least like 50% there was too much stuff. I wanted to place a house and have it work or not work, not necessarily that I would have to place it in a specific place and then have to like, which person lives here, and this person likes eggs, but this person likes honey, and I need to have the honey here, and if this doesn't reach them, then I need to move this thing around. And it just got to be like really, really super like fiddly and fussy, and I just didn't care for that. I will say they do a pretty good job on the UI, even though there's like too many menus. The menus go too deep. I think the whole thing could be simplified by half. But that's just me. I know that I'm not necessarily a customer for these. I only like the occasional one. I don't play them all. I'm not a fan of this genre specifically, even though I do like when they are done to my taste, which doesn't happen too often. So I guess I'm just being kind of a picky bitch, right? But I am what I am. And I felt like this one came close. So not a good fit for me specifically, even though I like a lot of it. But I think that if you're a console person and you like some of that SimCity stuff, and you don't mind that menus go 3 and 4 menus deep, and that you do like setting up trade routes and stuff like that, this might be totally your jam. Like, I think it's a good game. It is just not a good game for me, if that makes sense.
Have you... I'm just curious, kind of given what you put out as your interests, have you ever played Islanders?
I don't think so. That doesn't... I think I've heard the name, but I don't think I've played that one.
Give that one a look. You might as well just go get the... if you go look at it, they've done 2 of them. The other one's called New Shores. You're given this it's just the city building. It's the puzzle city building aspect. So your goal is to, with what they've supplied you have to reach a particular like percent. You have to get to 100%. Like, they just of like whatever they've decided is your condition for this map. Building in the space that you have, and you're kind of like, certain buildings give other buildings more points for it. So it's a lot about like rotation and placement.
Okay.
And trying to like, all right, well, do I like where like this, if I put this like lighthouse here, then like I get all these points for this, but maybe I like hold out for like another couple buildings to like juice the amount of points that this gets. It doesn't, it's not doing any sort of like social or political things in there. You're just placing buildings as optimally as possible. Like, if you want something that is city building, like puzzle-based city building, where like you build the city and then you get to just move on from there.
Yeah, that maybe is more my speed. I like the concept. I like puzzle games, certain puzzle games. I feel like there's one of these out there that is probably the right game for me, and I just haven't found it yet. And I feel like I would really vibe with one of these if I could find it. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'll give that one a shot. I'll write that down and maybe check that out and see if that fits a little bit better. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with Laysara. I just think it's, I'm just not that guy, and it just goes deeper than I want to go. I just need something a little bit more. I guess I'm a dilettante, and that's fine. I'm not ashamed of that. So I need something a little on the lighter side.
I mean, you sound like me every time I open up the Steam page for Timberborn.
Oh, I've been seeing that one. That one has got, it's caught my eye, but I've steered clear.
Because I look at Timberborn and I'm like, I love everything you're telling me, and then you watch someone play Timberborn and you're like, never mind.
That has happened to me so many times lately.
Never mind.
Yes, dude, I feel that so much. There's so many times when I see a game and I'm like, that looks like my shit. And then I go check out a trailer or watch somebody play and I'm like, oh no, like, I don't know. It's just, I need the developers who are on my same mental wavelength, who like the same level of depth. There's some out there. I know my people, but man, some of these games look so fun, and then I get to them, and I'm just like, this is not what I want to be doing. This is not. Oh, I wish you did X instead of Y. And I get that's just like me being super, partial to myself or whatever. But yeah, I get you. Yeah,
I'm bad. I'm bad in this particular space. I'm bad. Like Against the Storm was, I think, the most that I could like tolerate.
I don't think you've heard that one. Is that a good one?
Oh, you don't know what Against the Storm is?
No, I don't think. I'm Googling it right now.
I am shocked. So Against the Storm is almost like a city builder roguelite.
Googling now. Is it only? It's probably only PC, right? That's probably why I don't know about it.
No, there is a Switch version of it, but like I don't know how well it. Like I think it plays pretty well on a controller. I'm always really wary of games like this when they move onto a console. It's just some of those setups are like really hard. Like Terra Nil was one that I think made an awful, like performance wise, but also just in general, made a really awful transition to console.
Okay. I'm looking at it now. There is a Switch version, and I think you're right. I'm looking at this like, okay, how is anybody supposed to play this on the Switch? Like I'm seeing all these windows. And the thing, okay, I've never heard of this game, honestly, and I didn't even know it was on Switch. So tell me a little bit about this one.
Against the Storm, you kind of get to do the city builder aspect of it with like a little bit more of, that's a little bit deeper. It's closer to the game that you just described.
Okay.
Than Islanders would be. But you're kind of going on runs while you're doing this. So like you're kind of just building these cities and then you're moving to the next one. And you're trying to get as far out from the center. You're trying to kind of build colonies as far out from the center as you can while this storm. Like, there's this storm that's approaching. So,
interesting.
That one I thought was a lot of fun. And, like, for me, it's about as much city builder as I can stand. Like, even Sim City is, like, too much for me sometimes. Yeah. Like, Frostpunk will likely kind of overwhelm me as well.
See, that's an interesting point, though. So let's go back to that for a second, because I know that you've got this version of Frostpunk, but that for me was like the perfect balance of, I mean, take out the scary, oppressive, depressing elements or whatever. Talking just from like a design standpoint, I thought Frostpunk was so good, and it translated so perfectly to console, because that is exactly the depth that I want. That's like, yes, I'm building a city, and there's a couple levels to it, but it's super easy to manage. It all makes sense. All the stuff that you need to figure out is like pretty much right there on the screen, and it was all basically contained to like one screen, so you didn't have to like tab over to anything. Like that to me, just from a technical design standpoint, fucking chef's kiss perfect, dude. That was exactly what I want, and I am constantly like chasing that high again of like this amount of detail, this amount of menu fucking, this amount of stat minding. That was like the ultimate shit for me, and I haven't found another game that has been as good as that. Even Frostpunk 2, I played it, I'm like, oh, they fucked it. It's not as good. It's not as good.
Well, anymore. 2 was doing they're kind of doing a very different thing.
Yeah, I was not down for that. Did not work for me. But that level of Frostpunkiness, the first one, that's what I want, and that's what I keep hoping for, and I just don't find a lot of games that really just like hammer it down and sharpen it and cut away the fat and just give you just the good stuff the way that game did. That was like a singular moment for me in terms of city builder / sim design. Like, I feel like it was so good for my tastes anyway. And I don't know. I need somebody out there to kind of give me that same scope. Doesn't have to be the same game, but the same approach, the same, I don't know, the same concept, I guess, basically. The same scope. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you would like Against the Storm then. I mean, I'd be curious to see how you respond to Islanders, which is as like elemental as possible about what it's trying to do. Like truly just stripping away everything to just like placing stuff on a map in an optimized format.
Oh, well, that might work. I will have to check that one out for sure. Okay. Good recommendations. One more game to talk about, and we're going to end strong here. I want to get this one out of the way because this is also kind of a bummer. I hate to end on a bummer for sure. This one is called Grind Survivor. Now, I know that you are a fan of Survivor likes, just like I am, right?
Right. I mean, but do you need to call it Grind Survivor? I mean, because I think that most Survivor games are the grind.
Oh boy. No, they are not the grind compared to this one. This one is being very, very straightforward, very honest. They are telling you exactly what you're in for when you buy this one. And just kind of like you, I thought the same thing. I'm like, well, they're all kind of grindy in general. So let's see if no, this one, they lean into that so fucking hard. It's very funny, but I appreciate they were honest, and they say it right there in the title. So basically you play a Doom-like type character, like the Doom Slayer type guy. You got this armor, you're in hell, I guess. They don't give you like shit story. And I don't need a story to play a game like this, but a little bit of rapping I think is pretty good. Scene setting, if nothing else. So you're like a Doom type guy. You've got guns, you're in hell, demons coming from all sides. And then you just like, you do the typical Survivors like gameplay of where you pick up experience orbs after you kill monsters. And then you pick whatever power up comes when you hit your level, and then you kind of just go from there. I mean, in that sense, it's basically just like every other Survivors game. So if you play the Survivors, Vampire Survivors, or the like, that at its core is what it is. But they really okay, so like number one, they don't give you fuck all tutorials, which I think is a mistake, because I think this game is doing some things that are not exactly par for the course that were kind of confusing to me. There's a lot of time spent in menus when you are between levels. So like you go to level, gameplay pretty standard, you kill some demons or whatever, you get the experience points, level up, you're going to eventually die or finish the level, either way. Whatever happens, you go back to the hub, and then there's like, this game's thing is guns. So like that's their hook. So like when you're in the field, you collect a bunch of guns, enemies drop guns, you get guns as rewards, and you bring those back to your base, and then you pick a gun that you want to do. You can level it up. You can re-roll the stats. You can sacrifice other guns to make that gun stronger. So there's like a bunch of things you can do with these particular guns. And there's, I think, 4 or 5 different kinds of guns. Shotgun, dual SMG, pistol. I don't know. I can't remember what the other ones were. There weren't very many. And so you spend a lot of time fucking around with the stats of the gun. You have a pretty small skill tree. Not a lot of skills there that are like the permanent carryover skills, but you'll do like, 1% faster movement, 2% faster movement or something like that. So it's pretty, that's the fucking definition of grind right there, right? So they have you spend a lot of time going to mess with your guns. And if you like the idea of messing with your arsenal and re-rolling stats and leveling stuff up, they do a lot of that. But honestly, I didn't feel like that was really rewarding for a couple of reasons. Because I think, number one, many of the guns felt the same. And even though there's like different stats within them, they didn't really feel that different to me. Like, yeah, there's the difference between an SMG and a shotgun, but beyond that, they don't really feel that different to me. And so I didn't feel like I was getting a lot of variety. And one of the things that I like about playing Survivors games is the ability to find cool synergies or to get like really like OP and to get something funny happen or something interesting happen. It's kind of like the reason I like a lot of roguelikes too, is like that kind of like improvisation or unexpected combinations. So a lot of the guns felt very similar, which was kind of boring. A lot of the skills are just like, 1% faster, 2% faster, 3% faster, which is like the most boring kind of skill tree ever. I fucking hate skill trees like that. It's so boring and dull. And then when you get to actually playing the game, one thing that I do like, and I'll give props for this, which I think is kind of a new ethos in the Survivor genre, is that you can have your auto fire, like, like Vampire Survivors originally had, where you have no control over where the character fires. They just fire whatever's closest to you, which I think works. But also the new style is whenever you want to, you can hit the right stick and then shoot in a specific direction. And this game gives you both, which I think is great. So you can auto fire as much as you want. And then if you get into a situation where you're like, Jesus, I really need to clear the left side of the screen really quickly, hit the right stick and you can just like start controlling it as normal and then go back to whenever you want to auto fire again. Great. I love that. Great decision. Feels good. I think every Survivors game should do that from now on. But when you're doing the powers, all the powers are just like boring. They're so fucking boring. They're just like shooting a little bit faster, 10% more damage, bullets go 10% further. Like, they could not be more boring. And I think at one point I got a power that was like, enemies will leave a circle of fire when they die. That was like the most exotic it got. And I'm like, dude, have you not played any of these other games? Like, nothing visually exciting going on. No wild, wacky powers. It was all just like this mega incremental improvements to the boring to look at, boring to play gunplay. And it was just very, very dull. I just was like so bored by the time I did my second or third run. Had the same power, same level up, nothing changed, nothing interesting. Just really, really dry, just really so dry. And they weren't lying. Like, I mean, I think the only way to get anywhere in this game is just to grind the same levels for micro increases over and over and over. And I was just like, oh, dude, like, no. I mean, maybe this is a game for somebody out there, but I think it misses a lot of what makes this genre good. And I just did not care for what it brought to the table, which is a shame. I can see the bones of something here. And I will say the feeling of playing this game, like shooting the guns felt good. Your character felt kind of weighty. Running around like felt pretty good. So like, I'm like, okay, it's kind of pleasant, like tactilely pleasant to play this. And, you know, a Doom guy in hell, I mean, that's a winning formula that works out. The Survivors formula in general works out, but like, it just, man, so dry and so boring. It almost feels like, a proof of concept or like a work in progress. It doesn't feel like it's even finished, like with how dull and flat a lot of the content is. So I don't know. Is anything I'm saying here remotely appealing to you? I know you play Survivors too, but what are you thinking?
No, it does not sound appealing. I'm listening to you talk about it though, and are you sure you're not playing an incremental game?
I mean, is that a genre?
I feel like at some point, like the things that you're describing, like you unlock the thing that just plays the game for you and you check in on it.
I don't think that feature is here. If it was, I would turn it on, but I'm pretty sure there is no feature like that. But boy.
So like an incremental game is something like Progress Quest. Like, I'm trying to think of something that you might have
like a clicker style thing, kind of where you
or like anything that has idle in it. And like as you're describing, it's like like really kind of like flat, low value upgrades. Like I'm waiting for like you to find the like
no
menu navigator upgrade or something that just like plays it for you.
So that would make sense, right? That would make sense. But imagine a clicker game like that, an incremental clicker game where you have to do all that stuff by yourself. It's no, there's nothing like that. It is so boring. It is just like, I'm stunned at how boring it feels to play this with like all these powers that are just not really powers. It's just a gun that gets incrementally better by tiny increments. And it's just, oh man, just like sucked. No, cannot play this. No.
I have to just assume that the person or the people that are making that this is something that is that works for their particular type of cognition.
Yes.
But like, yes. I feel that they've kind of like lost the thread on why people like these games. And it's not like 0.0 improvement every run.
Yeah, I agree. This is the perfect game for like 0.00032% of the video game fan base out there. This will be, I'm sure, manna from heaven for that one kind of person, right? But like, yeah, I don't think they are getting what makes the Survivor genre so fun and appealing. It just, and I appreciate they're trying something different. I mean, they're not just carbon copying people, which is great. But I feel like the direction they went was like the worst possible direction, and it's the most boring direction. And I could not get out of this fast enough. And I like Survivors games. I play a lot of them. I like that genre a lot. And this one was just like the like from negative universe, like the opposite of everything that I think is fun about the genre. And it just did not work for me, like at all. So
Yeah, like I'll almost always just show up and give you a chance.
Same. And no, the chance revoked. So
yeah, you had your chance. You blew it.
Exactly. So Grind Survivor, I'm out. I can't even really recommend it unless you like the idea of doing micro incremental upgrades over a very long period of time. So, for example, how bad the grind is. You have to beat the same level 1 on 4 different difficulties before you can unlock level 2. And I'm like, I'm just not going to do that. So,
hey, yeah, Deep Rock Galactic Survivors came out for both Google Play and the Apple App Store. You don't need to play this game.
Yeah,
you can play a better one just on your phone.
And that's a good. I have tried that one. That is a fun game too, as well. That one's a much better game. So, anyway, Grind Survivor didn't work for me. Let's finish strong, Jeremiah. Let's bring it home with you, my friend. Hearing endless talk about Pokopia. Pokopia? Am I saying it right?
Pokopia.
Okay,
yeah, you got it right first.
Okay. I don't know much about it other than it's kind of like Viva Pinata. It's kind of like Pokemon. It's kind of like Dragon Quest Builders. It's kind of like Minecraft. All those things. And apparently it gets really fucking emotional at the end, which was surprising to me. But everybody in the world talking about this, playing this, and for an unusual level for me, I am getting a little bit of FOMO. My wife is definitely getting FOMO, but neither one of us has a Switch 2. We haven't gotten into it. And this was the first game in a long time when I'm like, okay, maybe now is the time to get a Switch 2. Check the prices, and I'm like, fuck no, I'm not getting a Switch 2. We're going to do that later.
Yeah. Sorry, all of the RAM manufacturers, they've just decided to not make RAM for you anymore because you're not really.
I don't get any more RAM. Sorry. I don't get. Yeah, exactly. So we saw the prices, and I'm like, absolutely fucking not. So I'll just keep a little list going. At some point in the future, when I come across an affordable Switch 2, maybe I'll get this game. But for now, I will have to be enjoying it vicariously through you, who is playing this game. So tell us all about Pokopia.
I feel that at this point that we're recording this, I don't know what I would like tell the people that are listening and excited about it that you probably don't already know by way of like any form of any platform, like shoving Pokopia down your throat. So let's talk about it so that the people who have played it, they can hear another person talking about it. Let's take it from that angle.
Let's do it.
So, for you, Brad, yes, it is like Minecraft, but let's trace the line. So, Dragon Quest Builders were 2 games that wanted to take the concept of Minecraft, where the world is kind of built out block by block, and apply some form of goal-based story structure to it. If you have not played Dragon Quest Builders 1 or 2, they're pretty great.
Yeah.
If you like Minecraft, but you kind of wish that it kind of told you maybe what to do, if you had a little bit more structure, the Builders games are great. And like 2 is a huge expansion on what the promise of the first one was. So, in that way, Pokopia is very much like Viva Pinata, and we can talk about that in a second, but it is very much Dragon Quest Builders. In fact, it's made by that same team. I think that this was like the buried lead for Pokopia when Nintendo first revealed it, and everyone was like, why would I ever pay $80 for what you just showed me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't until, and I was in that camp too. I was like, man, ZA wasn't it, y'all. Like, you just one fucking turd after another from you people. And it wasn't until it became clear that Omega Force was the team that was developing Pokopia, then it all made sense. You were able to look at a screenshot of Pokopia and go like, oh, fucking duh. It's literally Dragon Quest Builders, with a Pokemon skin on it. So once that revelation happened, I feel like everybody got psyched. And it wasn't until they did like a press preview, I think, where that information became known.
Are you a Pokemon guy? I don't even know your stance on Pokemon. I am not a Pokemon guy, so where are you on Pokemon?
Yeah, and I know that we've talked about this before. I am 100%. I am a Pokemon person.
Okay.
It is like it is like stamped onto my being. I was there for that, for Red and Blue, like that, like on the Game Boy, and it just, it's a thing that just never leaves you. It just truly doesn't. So Pokopia at least gets right what the Mystery Dungeon games do, which is Pokemon is so much more interesting when you take the fucking humans out of it. When you have like a cast of like very cute, like little relatable characters that have their own distinct personalities talking to each other, infinitely more interesting than having the sports narrative that Pokemon tends to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of lost my train of thought on that one. There's a lot of angles I could take this one from. So yes, you are doing the Minecraft thing where like the world that you're in is just everything is a block. You can pretty much punch tree, get wood for almost the entirety of the world that's around you, and you are given a lot of space to do that in. One thing that Dragon Quest builders did for the Minecraft formula was you had distinct zones that you are in. So instead of like one giant server map, like with Minecraft, you'd have like discrete areas. Like here's the beach area, here's the volcano area, here's the ice area, etc. Pokopia does that as well. So you kind of start out in a normal town, then you move to like another biome and another biome, and then eventually you'll have 5 in total that you're moving in between. And when you get into the first one, you're like, okay, this feels reasonable and manageable. And then by the time that you have all of them, you're like, oh my god, there's so much, like, I don't even know how I'm going to attack. How do I approach, like, managing this? And then each new area that you get is progressively more fucked up than the one before it. So, and like, we can kind of leave it there. The whole concept here that they had told is that you are a Ditto, and you awaken, and you're like, well, I'm a real boy now, or girl. So you kind of mimic what you remember your trainer looking like, and you have their Pokedex with them. So you are trying to make the world better so that the humans will come back. Like the idea, like,
I keep
if we make
that this is like post-apocalypse or something, right? I keep forgetting that this is like, there's no humans in the world at all, right?
Yeah, it's funny too, because it's got like I look at this and like it's a real like abused like child of a divorced family thing to it, where it's just like the parents left because it's my fault. Like, so if I make their relationship better, they'll come back. Is kind of what you're doing here. Like, it does get a little bit like emotional towards the end. I think that you have to be bought into Pokemon writ large, I think, for it. But if you want me to give you like an in between the lines reading of this, I think that there is an interesting narrative here about what happens to people's animals in a natural disaster.
Okay, interesting.
Or what does the world God, what was that PS3 game?
Tokyo Jungle.
There we go.
We go.
You know, like Tokyo Jungle kind of explored this too, of like what does the world look like when the humans evacuated and left the animals behind?
Yeah. Okay.
Because they only saved themselves. I feel like Pokopia is very like, it's telling that story, and it's kind of it's definitely more grim in that way than most Pokemon games are usually willing to go. So I'm impressed with that. Although it's Omega Force, and everything that Omega Force tends to touch tends to have a like, well, it was, oh, thank God it was only just a dream, like as the credits roll.
Oh no.
Like that's they hurt me with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and I will never forgive them.
I was just gonna say Omega Force, they're the people that do all of those, I forget the genre's called, the
Muso
genre. Yeah, that's those guys, right?
Yes, I'm like some contingent of them, because I don't think Omega Force specifically is responsible for just Ninja Gaiden and like Dynasty Warriors.
Okay.
But they I believe they were the ones that did Age of Calamity and Age of Imprisonment as well.
The name sounds familiar. Okay. Interesting. So I wouldn't have guessed them taking that route. That's very fascinating, that, the pets left behind kind of a thing. Human rights.
Well, and if they stick it, like if they actually hold like I'm not quite finished with it yet. I'm nearing that point. And I'm really worried. I'm going to get there. They're going to give me this like really emotional ending, and then like the trainer wakes up with her Ditto.
Just
that is
the whole thing. Yeah.
100% what Omega Force would pull. Because it's typically where they put themselves, right? It's why when Age of Imprisonment was being announced, you might remember this, that they drilled home, like, no, this is part of the story of Tears of the Kingdom. It takes place during the story of Tears of the Kingdom. Because what they did with Age of Calamity is they did this, it was the characters that you get as like the spirits in Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah.
The champions. And you kind of go through like the final days where like Hyrule's getting fucked up. And it's like compelling in that way, right? It's I think Halo Reach did this. I know, I'm just pulling names out of everywhere. Yeah. I am so sorry, everybody.
Like when something's crashing, the final days, like you're seeing how things went bad, basically, in the middle of it.
Yeah, like you as somebody who's been along for the story, like this ship flips upside down. You know that this does not end well. And Age of Calamity, they like, hey, we won. Breath of the Wild never happened. Hooray! And then like Zelda wakes up. Like,
that's stupid. That is so stupid.
Yeah, and that's kind of like where Omega Force like tends to sit. So I'm worried they're going to do that with me here in Pokopia. I've not seen anybody complain like that, so I'm actually convinced they're going to like hold. They're going to like put their foot down and hold to it, which would be great. It would actually be definitely one of like the stronger narratives that a Pokemon game has had. Let's not beat around the bush too much longer about the Viva Pinata part, which this is the part that I was mostly safe from Pokopia until someone told me it played like Viva Pinata. And at that point, I was broken. Because I love Viva Pinata.
I really enjoyed it too. I really had a good time with it, yes.
I love it. I think about Viva Pinata more than is like safe or reasonable for a human being. So the Viva Pinata part of this is that there's two things in your reference manuals for this game. You have your Pokedex, which you're used to. You then have a habitat dex, which is arrangements of grasses and like plants and furniture and environment tiles like water. There's usually like there's kind of like a recipe of like, you need 2 grasses, 2 tiles of water, and a table. And that forms a habitat where some number of Pokemon might move into it. So there's usually like one that's common. They're common, but then there's some that are common and rare. So you build these habitats, and then eventually you come back and like, hey, there's someone here. Now there's a new, like, you got another one for the dex. And that little loop right there is like a big deal for what Pokopia is doing.
Gotcha. So how do you relate to when they show up? I mean, I heard that there's no combat in this, so you just like talk to them, they give you their powers, or like what is you collect them? Like what is the interaction with those Pokemon like?
Yeah, we're pretty much doing all the like top level stuff of like Dark Cloud. So
okay.
they'll move into that habitat, and what you ideally should do with them, because multiple Pokemon could move into the same habitat, You can then build a house. So you can, like, you put down a plot for a building, or you can build it yourself. Any square space with a door on it. Like, I think you just build up, like, one block in a closed space with a door. The game then recognizes that as a house. And you can bring a Pokemon to it, and you're going to say, hey, buddy, you want to live here? And like, sure do, buddy. And then they move into that house. The trick being is that you actually have to decorate. You have to put furniture in their houses. So every house has to have a minimum of 3 pieces of furniture in it to be livable.
Just like real life. Just like real life.
Of course, right? Yeah, like a mattress, a TV, and, the third spot really is like that's a wild card. You need a place to sleep and a TV to watch.
Exactly.
Like, from there, it could be literally anything else. This is where it's better than it's doing something a step above what, like, Animal Crossing would do, right? Where your villagers move in and they get their house, and that's it. You kind of don't interact with them at all.
Yeah.
You absolutely get to just kind of, like, be the person who runs the HOA for all the Pokemon, because you want to move your Combee into a specific house. Like, you can decide what their furniture look like. So everything you do is like a little dollhouse for you to build out for your faves. So that's a big part of the loop. Moving them into a house makes them happy, and it increases their living condition. So what you're trying to do is, your goal is to raise the living condition. And at first, you're like, oh, that doesn't seem too hard. Like, usually you get to, like, level 5, right? And then a bunch of stuff unlocks for you. But then you start to see that, like, level 20 is a thing. And you're like, oh, shit, that's a lot of happiness. Like, that's talking to everybody in this little town that I've got. And, like, building a piece of furniture for them, making them a piece of, making them something to eat.
Oh, dude, I'm already feeling a little bit overwhelmed by this already. I'm not even playing this game, and I'm already in my head. I'm like, oh, geez, that feels like a lot of tasks to do.
So there's, like, that's just kind of like the moving, like, the Viva Pinata thing. Like, you kind of, like, you create habitats for them, you get them to move in, and then you, like, kind of build spaces for them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't Pokemon don't evolve. You don't get duplicates of them. So they're all singletons. So you might get you'll get the 3 steps of an evolution. You'll get a Bulbasaur. I can't believe, like, I just forgot, like,
Ivysaur?
Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Venusaur. Thank you.
There you
That's the bridge. I always forget the middle ones. You'll get each one of those independently. There'll be 3 different
gotcha. Okay.
ones. It won't be one that evolves up through it. Which means I think there's, like, 300 plus in here. So ideally, like, you filling out the Pokedex is, like, you now have over 300 residents that you could have, like, you've put them somewhere.
Wow. So you build up basically like an entire city, like an entire village settlement that is just, like, encompassing all these new people.
Yes, and I would tell you that once you get 20 in any given area, all of a sudden, like, it starts to feel a little crowded, which is great, because there's the amount of space that is available to you. You're like, oh, I don't even. There's enough space in this game where I absolutely ran up against, like, I will play this game for 80 plus hours probably, and I won't touch half of what's here.
Oh man, okay.
Because it's just that big. And, like, it's that big not because the expectation is that you are going to do that. It is big because here is just all the space for possibility. Do whatever you want.
Interesting. So, and then, I mean, there must be, like, an end state. There's an ending. I mean, people talk about the ending and stuff like that. So how far into it are you right now? Like, how many hours in?
I'm 40.
So, like, halfway, maybe?
Yeah, I'm at least 40 into it, and I have I have all of the areas unlocked. The last area is a fucking disaster. Like, they truly just give you a space that you look, like, everything they've given you before, like, you can look at and you can conceptualize about, like, all right, I can kind of think about how I would, like, improve this and, like, build it back. And then they give you this fifth one, and you're like, oh, I have no like foundational basis for what I would do here. So like that fifth area is really challenging as far as just like a design challenge to take on.
You'll have to tell me after the show. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that isn't there, but I am personally curious, and it'll probably be a long time until I play this game, so I would be curious. Tell me afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, so that was all like the Pokemon stuff with it. Of course, like there's cooking and all of that. There are main quests that you do. They very clearly will mark, this is an important thing you need to do to move forward. So they don't let you get lost in that. You can kind of get lost in the complexities of how you're going to like string stuff together, but they don't let you get lost. Storage is a nightmare. Like, and I've heard a lot of people talk about the storage. I can wrap it up very succinctly for everybody. It's Stardew Valley levels of storage management.
Oh man, okay.
Everything lives in its own storage box.
It's funny you say that because I'm still very slowly making my way through Graveyard Keeper, and like, man, storage, like careful management of storage is just like so fucking vital in that game. It's like ridiculous how important it is. So I feel that vibe for sure. And you're saying it's the same thing here, so that makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, so for all the people who have like played Pokopia and they're like, God, who would ever have thought that this is okay? All they looked at like the single most popular cozy life sim in the past like 30 years and said like, well, they did all right storage wise.
We can do better though. We can do better than just making the same mistakes again.
Yeah, and like when you like me like 40 hours in, it's just like, fuck, I know I have this thing, like what? So like what town is it in? And what box in that town is it in? And like there have been times like, well, time to make another one. Because it ain't me. But on top, like, so last layer of this is the fact that you terraform. Electricity is a thing. Like, and I am telling you, I'm surprised this is in here. Literally setting up utility poles and electrical sources.
Oh wow.
Like windmills that then windmills or like incinerators that feed electricity to poles that then have to be constructed to like provide power to devices around them.
Interesting. That seems like a level you don't normally get to in a game of this kind.
I thought, like, I knew it was there when they started walking me through it. I was like, this is way more complex than I was expecting from you guys.
Let me ask you, man. So this sounds interesting. I know that Gina, my wife, is very excited to play this. This is her watching the trailer was the most animated I've seen her get over a game in like the last 6 months. She plays games all the time, but this one she lit up for. She's like, oh shit, this is my jam, and I'm like, okay. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to it yet. But
right.
Do you feel like this? I mean, because, and this is totally arbitrary. Maybe you can't even answer this, but like, you know, I think one of the big reasons, aside of just like the fucking stupid cost of the Switch 2 right now, is like I just haven't seen a lot of system selling software that has really convinced me to like, oh, this is something that I can only play on the Switch 2. As I've said many times on the show, my backlog on the Switch is like, it's like 900 games, and I'm playing a lot of those, and I'm having fun with a lot of those. They are still checking the box for me. I haven't seen anything where I'm like, oh, I gotta get a Switch 2 because I guess I gotta play this one game. This one kind of sort of maybe sounds like it. Do you feel like this is a system seller? Like, if you like these type of games, like, do you think this is the first real big deal they've got going on?
I would buy into that argument.
Okay.
I think that this game would run very poorly on the original Switch hardware, which is I can see why it didn't make it. But yes, I agree with people who would say that this is kind of like, this is the first time since it came out last year that they have presented something that is, oh, well, that would convince me to do it. Because other than that, it's just been, you got another Hyrule Warriors, you got another Mario Kart. Bonanza was interesting, but it just clearly was not enough. This is like one of the best Pokemon games that they've made. This is one of the best games that they have put out with Pokemon's name on it.
Yeah.
Like it is,
like
it's
overall,
up there with,
like overall.
It's up there with Pokemon Snap. It's up there with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I would say it's just like if you were going to point somebody to something that they're like, I want a Pokemon thing that's not just, the mainline series.
Yeah.
I would immediately point them towards this. Like the hype for this one is genuine. Like people are excited because this is an actually good thing that happened. So, which is quite frankly about as shocking as it can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as somebody who loves, like, just cannot get away from Pokemon and has been burned by their output over the last, 5 years minimum, but like almost stretching back towards 10. This is the kind of thing that I feel like I can't be too optimistic about, because I think this is more like a lucky strike more than it is telling of quality going forward.
I hear you. I have dipped into Pokemon occasionally, even though I'm not a Pokemon guy, and I generally walk away disappointed, and that's probably why I'm still not a Pokemon guy. But the hype for this one is strong. Everybody I've talked to has like nothing but good things to say about it. Even the fact that it has like an emotional ending is pretty unusual for the series, as far as I know. And having spent a lot of time with Dragon Quest Builders, and that being one of my wife's favorite series, it definitely seems like they've got a good foundation under them that they've laid Pokemon on top of. So that is promising. This is legit. I think the first time that either my wife or I have been tempted to be like, maybe we should get a Switch too. And I'm sure more will come, but this might be it. So, all right, man.
I just gotta wait for the RAM crisis to pop. But
fucking AI tech bros. But yeah, for sure. So, all right, cool. Thank you for that in-depth look. I think you've definitely like answered all of my questions and kind of painted a pretty sunny picture of it. So, exciting stuff. I look forward to hearing
legitimately
more
good. Like the hype is warranted here.
Okay, right on. All right, folks. Game portion of the show is now officially done, but like many humans, Jeremiah and I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That is right. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. Let me get a couple shorties out of the way here, and you've got something interesting to bring to the table, Jeremiah. We'll get to that in just a second. For the people who like 80s cartoons, I'm kind of on an 80s cartoons renaissance right now. I just recently finished season 1 of Inspector Gadget. I'm sure you've seen Inspector Gadget at some point in your life, Jeremiah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's Thing. Went back to the original 1982 or 1983 series. Watched the original pilot episode, which was wild. Very different than the Inspector Gadget you probably know and love. He had a mustache. He had a little bit of an ego. He definitely was a different kind of character. Different voices for everybody. I think the choices they made in the main series were good to kind of make him a different person. We watched all 65 episodes. I've said it before, held up. It was fun. I laughed. I liked it a lot. It's great stuff. And then we watched season 2, which I have never seen any episodes of season 2 ever. And I don't know anybody who has seen them. And I almost want to say that they didn't play in America, but I know that they did. Every source says that they did. Maybe it was limited markets. At that time, Inspector Gadget wasn't as popular. They came back for, I think, only 22 episodes. First series was 65. Second series was 22. I can see why. Because, boy, season 2 is fucking miserable.
Oh, no.
It's so weird. He goes into a house that is full of gadgets that are just like the gadgets he has, which is really fucking creepy when you think about it. That's analogous to living in a house and there's copies of your own arm on every wall doing stuff that you would do. It's just it's like a weird body horror kind of nightmare. But the worst thing about it is his personality changes. He's more of a dick in this one. And he gets a sidekick who is called Cape Man. He's a short, chubby, super mega fanboy Stan kind of a guy who imagines that he can fly, but he actually can't. And they do go that gag all the time, and it's just not funny. And he is a dick to Penny and Brain, and he just sucks up to Inspector Gadget all the time. It's this weird fucking dynamic. It's so bizarre. He moves into their house for some reason, and he takes a shit on Penny and Brain all the time. And it just fucks the whole show, and I'm forget it. I'm not watching this. We watched, I think, 3 or 4 episodes, and me and the wife were we're out, dude. This is bad. So Inspector Gadget season 2 is awful, and I can see why it only ran for a third of the regular running length of a season. If you like Inspector Gadget, stick to season 1 that everybody knows and loves back in the day. Don't bother with season 2. It was just really awful. Really, really a series of cascading bad decisions that just didn't amount to anything. And if that was an attempt to revive them, it sure fucking failed. So pretty weird and terrible.
You talking about it remind like I remember, I think it was about a year ago, somebody talking about like the anime origin of Inspector Gadget. So I'm here looking it up. And that's okay. I believe Inspector Gadget was animated by the same studio that did Lupin.
Yeah. A lot of those animators are the Japan studios. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so that's why it just like me thinking about like we were like as children. It's kind of like, well, no wonder anime like landed on us the way it did. Like, I watched Inspector Gadget. I was ready. I was ready for things that looked like it.
We were
to
primed to have that experience for sure. Yeah, interesting collaboration between French creators but Japanese animators, and that was true for a lot of cartoons in the 80s for sure. But this one definitely can feel it. So anyway, Inspector Gadget Season 2, what an atrocity. It's gross. I hate it. I haven't found anybody that likes it. And barely anybody even knows it exists, so it's probably just best forgotten. So anyway, there's that. Shout out to Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I know it came out. This is the show about students going to, as I said, Starfleet Academy to become new Starfleet officers. This is taking place in like the new timeline, which honestly I'm not really that familiar with. I'm going back to watch all the Star Trek stuff in order. So we watched the OG with like Trek, with Shatner and Nimoy. We watched some of the Filmation animated. We've seen Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, Voyager, and we're watching. What are we watching? We're watching something else right now. But like, we just jumped into this because the wife was pretty excited about this to check it out. And I'm not familiar with some of the new. They reference events that are like in the Starfleet or Star Trek canon that I'm not familiar with, but we're just rolling with it. And I'm seeing it get a lot of hate. From various people. I don't know whether it's justified or not. I think probably not. But like, we've been watching it. We're about 9 episodes in. It's really good. I'm really liking it like a lot. Are you? Are you aware of this at all, Jeremiah? Are you familiar with this? I'm sure you must have caught some.
I'm aware of it because I see people like in my orbit go on. They just have gone on an emotional journey with this, where they're like, this is like, the fuck are you guys doing? And then they'll get another episode in because of course it's not so bad that they would stop watching it.
Of course, yes.
And they're like, oh, we are so back. And then the next episode they're like, fuck this thing. And then it's like, we're so back. It just there's like this whiplash for it. So like, is this Star Trek Harry Potter? Is that what we're doing?
I don't think it is. I think it's more. I've seen.
Or is this Cobra Kai? Is this Cobra Kai Star Wars?
That's on my list. I haven't seen it, so I can't say. But I've heard Cobra Kai is good. So like what people in my circles are comparing it to is like the CW, like a lot of those like angsty teen shows where they're like making out with each other and stuff, and there's a lot of drama. And that makes sense.
It's the Dawson's Creek.
Star Wars. Yeah. I think it might be the Dawson's Creek Star Trek. Which
wait. More cursed. It's the Degrassi years of Star Trek.
I don't think that's inaccurate. I think that's fine. I think having gone through a lot of Star Trek recently, I just think it's okay to do something different. I hear from a lot of people, I don't like the captain, who is Holly Hunter, I believe. And she plays a kind of captain that we have never seen before in this show, like, which is fine. She's like kooky and like kind of laid back and weird, very eccentric, like very unlike what you would think of if you thought of like the boilerplate Starfleet captain, very unlike Jean-Luc Picard, right? And the kids are there and they're just like misbehaving and doing hijinks and sexing and doing all this stuff, and you just don't think to see that in a Star Trek show. But I think Star Trek is so large, there's a whole universe there. There's all these planets that we don't get to see, all these people we don't get to see, like all these people who are not on a ship doing stuff. There's got to be billions of people, trillions of people who are living in that world who have lives that don't resemble what we've seen before. And I think that's fine. I think it's great to just move past that and see other stuff. I will say that I feel like the main cast, they're okay. I don't necessarily love all of them. The one guy who plays the Klingon, the first gay Klingon we've ever gotten, they do something with his voice that it sounds like they put it through a vocoder or something like that. And I wish we were just getting his normal voice, because it sounds weird and it just like hits my ear the wrong way whenever he talks. And it just makes me not like him, but it's just his voice. So they need to strip that out. But I think the main cast is too human looking. I wouldn't mind if some of them were a little bit more alien. In the very first episode, for example, one of the main guys looks like a human, totally like a normal person, but he's from a fish planet. And so in the very first episode, he's got to go like outside the ship, and he morphs this like fish skin on top of himself, And he's like, well, I'm impervious to space for like half an hour like this. And so he goes out and does whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's like a fish dude. He's got these eyes, green skin. That's amazing. And then he comes back in and it just like goes away. And he's just like back to being a human. And I'm like, well, too much like regular human. I wish we had like a little bit more like non-human. That's kind of like my little pet peeve. But otherwise, I think it's pretty good. I think some of the episodes have been genuinely exciting. There's been a lot of cool action, a lot of cool space battles. I do like a lot of the cast, the supporting cast members. They have Tig Notaro, who does a great job. They've got another comedian, female comedian, I forget what her name was, starts with an L, and she plays like the combat teacher who's like a Jem Hadar type person. I mean, they got the Robert Picardo, who's fantastic. I love Robert Picardo coming back as the doctor, the hologram doctor. Is a great job. He's had a wonderful story arc in this. So I think it's good. You're not on a ship. Yeah, Jean-Luc Picard is not here. It's not the same thing. We're not doing Monster of the Week or Episode of the Week like we used to with a regular series, but I'm open for it, man. I think it's pretty good so far. I'm digging it.
So Star Trek is just like pizza, then. There's like no bad Star Trek. There's just like okay Star Trek. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, for me, that's true. I'm sure you'd probably get people to fight you on that, but for me so far, I'm up for whatever, man. I think there's a lot you can do with this, and I think this is a different permutation, and I like pineapple on my pizza. I can also have pizza without pineapple on it, and I like it both ways, and I think that's fine. So I'm digging it. I like this a lot. The wife really likes it a lot, and she's not traditionally a Star Trek person. She'll be in the room when I'm watching it, but she's not into it like me and the kid were. So I dig it. I think it's a good stuff. I think people should give it a shot for sure. One more thing to mention, and I'll turn it over to you here. This week, Deadlock has returned to Amazon Prime. Are you familiar with the show at all?
Haven't heard that one at all.
Okay, so this came out a couple years ago. It's from two comedians who are from, I think they're either from Australia or from Tasmania. Two female comedians, and they're writing the show about two lesbian police officers in Tasmania. That was season 1. One of them is kind of like more straight-laced and by the book. One of them is a fucking hot mess and just has like her life as a wreck. And they get together and they solve this whack-ass crime in the bush of like Tasmania, which is a culture that I am not very familiar with. And I think there's probably parallels to Australian culture, but like more hillbilly, I guess, like it's just like kind of different what they portray. And like for real, like no insult or like disrespect to anybody who lives there. I'm just going off what they show us on the screen. And I think they very intentionally lean into that hillbilly aspect of it. So I'm not throwing shade at anybody who lives in Tassie. I'm sure it's fine. But they just like, it's such a fucking great show where like these two women are talking about their lives and the shit they got to put up with from men and how they are relating to being police officers in their different approaches and how they relate to like the higher ups and just this, everything about it. They swear like fucking sailors. They come up with like these crazy like scenarios. It's so fucking entertaining, dude. It was my show of the year when it came out, I think 2-3 years ago. My favorite show, like by a mile of any other show that I watched that year. And this is season 2, just came out this week. They move it from Tasmania to, I want to say they went to Australia. I think they're in Darwin, Australia, which that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know anything about Australia other than kangaroos and man-eating spiders, and meat pies. Meat pies are probably pretty good. But it
sounds like Australia to me.
I mean, that's what I'm sure. I'm sure the Australian fans are howling right now, but like that's all I know about it. But it's great. They just continue the dialogue. They have a new set of circumstances, a funny new mystery they're doing. They're still talking about like lesbian issues and female issues and police and the patriarchy and politics and everything like that. And it's just fucking funny. Like it's just laugh out loud funny all the time as well. So I love that they get all this quality stuff in there and just present a different perspective that we don't often get. So Deadlock, Deadloch, season 2, fantastic. Season 1, fucking fantastic. I love it. If you haven't watched the show, give it a shot. I think it's just like the best shit out there for sure.
Russell can only rewatch The Pit so many times. So maybe I can point him at that one.
Honestly, like knowing you guys, I kind of feel like he would think it was funny. I think you guys might enjoy it. Like start at season 1.
Maybe if there's even a hint of cringe in there, he can't do cringe.
I guess everybody's cringe is subjective, but like if you want a couple of lesbians who are tired of men's shit and who are making a lot of like really off-color jokes, I don't know. I think he might get it, dude. I think he might like it. Give it a shot.
Cringe is like Parks and like he can't watch Parks and Rec. Cannot tolerate it.
No, different vibe entirely.
Couldn't hated What We Do in the Shadows.
No, not that at all. No.
Okay.
This is played straight. It's not intentionally like wink wink ironic like that. This is like two women who are sick of men's shit and they're just like not being shy about it anymore, and they're just like being themselves and just like being open and just really straightforward, and when they're mad, and when it's funny, it's funny. So it's not like that winky cringe stuff like that. It's different.
Okay.
Give it a shot. I think you guys would dig it a lot. So, and speaking of Russell, your significant other, Game of Thrones, you said you were going to mention this show. I'm very curious to hear what you're talking about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm going to take a momentary divergence. I'm going to just like peel back the lid of this can of worms, and we'll do this at a later date. You reminded me something about Final Fantasy XIV that I wanted to say.
Circle back.
So like, wait, like we're only going to be here for a second. You know, something that I really appreciate about Final Fantasy XIV is that it is melodrama. It knows that it's melodrama. It stages itself as almost like watching like theater, like kabuki or something like that. And it plays it straight. It doesn't like... I think why I like it and why I stick around with anything that is like this is that it doesn't do the fucking like elbowing, winky nod, Joss Whedon shit.
Right.
So that's where I wanted to wrap back around. I have such a high appreciation for anything that is just like, I am here to tell this story, and I'm not going to make fun of me, and I'm not going to make fun of you for liking it. Because like, we're so bad about that. Like, we as a species.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you like this thing that I made? Well, you're stupid for liking it. And so, like, I'm going to, like, the characters in this are going to constantly remark about how, like, stupid you like how stupid they are and how stupid you liking this is. So, like, love that. Like, favorite thing about 14. So, but that's enough. Like, that's a topic for another day.
But if you like that vibe, that is the vibe that Deadlock brings. It is okay. Is what you're describing. That is what you're describing.
I feel like that's what you were telling me.
Yes,
like after
yes.
Because cringe comedy is that thing, right? Where it's just like, it's never, it's the nudgy, winky kind of like, yeah, this is fucking stupid, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a very pervasive type of like writing style.
Definitely becoming low-hanging fruit these days, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I could work out. Now, Game of Thrones. So this was this is me watching my husband do this. So back when Game of Thrones started, he tried to watch it. Mm-hmm. He got through like half of the first episode and like couldn't handle it because they're just like, so this was hard for me, so I know this will be difficult for a lot of other people. Wow. Really stretch your memory back.
Wait. Before you go, context. I have never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones ever. So, like, I don't know anything about it.
Interesting. Okay.
The only thing I've seen is the recent one, the Knight of Seven Lands or whatever there was. There's a recent one.
Oh my god. Okay. So
that was really funny. We liked it, but I don't know fuck all about the main
pin right there. I'll pull that pin out in just a second. So he just couldn't make it through. Like, if you kind of remember back to those like that first season of Game of Thrones, like, they are just putting people in the fucking blender. Like, and they are like kind of reveling in it. Like, I think those first two seasons of Game of Thrones like almost want to be a slasher flick sometimes. With just like the amount of like how much they revel in kind of gore.
Okay.
Like, they really linger on people being killed. So I don't know what got him to do this. He watched Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
And was so fucking into that. Like, to me it was shocking because I'm like, you hate Game of Thrones. He's like, but I like this. So he had all these questions for me because it's at least making calls forward to Game of Thrones, right? Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, but I assume, but yeah, I'm with you.
Well, just like the kid, like Aegon alone is a call forward to Game of Thrones. He's the baby, like, let's face it, Aegon's the baby Yoda of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So when he was done with that, he was like, well, I find myself unsatisfied and hollow.
As you do.
And it's like, well, like, why don't you just watch Game of Thrones, man? Like, if you want capital C content, like, go feast.
Yeah.
Go forth.
Yeah.
So I did warn him, because the conversation, he's like, but like, it was just so like bloody and gross. And I'm like, okay, I watched you go through the entirety of the originals and you were all into that. I don't think Game of Thrones can throw anything worse than what the originals threw at you, which is like it's a show about vampires, by the way. It's like, you're like the same level of like blood squirting and like, you know, guts falling out.
Okay.
There. Like, you'll like at this point, you just watched a dude's eye get poked out. Like, you can handle this. So he started, and I just, you know, kind of left, and I watched a little bit of it with him, and it was like, oh man, like, there's so much, like, Game of Thrones, much like some other things that we talked about today, like this long-running storyline that I was there for as it was happening. And just the amount of like stuff you forget at the time, just like, wow, like character after character after character. It was nostalgic in a way to see him go through it. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right, I'm off to bed. I then like see him the next day, and he's like in season 2.
Did he not go to bed?
It was just like, did you sleep last night? And he's like, I don't have anywhere to be. And I was like, that's a fair argument. You are correct. You do not. But it wasn't until Brienne showed up that he was like locked the fuck in. And I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but he loves, capital L, loves the Netflix redo, like not redo, but like Wednesday.
Oh, really?
He
okay. All right.
Fucking loves
really
Wednesday.
Okay.
Like, if there was anything that could like finally get him off like the Potter smack, mm-hmm. It would be like just more Wednesday. So she, I don't remember her name, but the woman who is Brienne of Tarth, she is the dean in Wednesday.
Oh,
in that first season of Wednesday,
the tall white lady.
Yes.
So
the moment she showed up in Game of Thrones, he was like, "Did they kill her?" And I was like, "No, buddy, you're safe. You get to have her the whole time." Like, I was like, "I'll just tell you, you get to have her the whole time." Locked the fuck in from then on out. Like, and it was, I would say it took him within a month, like within the span of 1 month, he was like through that whole series.
And he finished the whole thing,
which is insane because it's like they're like hour-long episodes, and they're like 10 a piece, so it's like 8 hours a season.
Yeah. And
there are 8 seasons.
So let me ask you this then. So I know, you know, I was around when it was going on. I mean, obviously I was aware of it and like people going gaga for it and all that stuff. But I managed to like not watch a single episode. Gina never watched a single episode. It just wasn't our jam at the time. But I have to wonder, I mean, I heard famously like, oh, the last season really fucked it sideways and it was so bad and terrible. Did he feel the same way, or how did he feel about how it ended? Because I mean, it's famous now for like ending so poorly. So what did he think of it?
So I'm gonna tie like Final Fantasy 14 and this together because this is meaningful. So I heard a lot of people saying that Endwalker was just not satisfying to them, mm-hmm. And these are people that had been along for the whole 10 years of the journey as it happened. I'm getting to experience it one right after the other. I'm not having to wait in between.
Right.
I was not satisfied by the ending of Game of Thrones. Okay. I was just like, what is this like Marvel in-game schlock? Like, I get it, you guys are trying to wrap this up, but like, come on. But I was there. Like, I was there and I was waiting. Like, the idea, like, you know, Russell got to hit like a big end of season story point.
Yeah.
And just like move on.
Immediately
to the
watch the next episode. Yes.
Like, he, you know, and the wait between those seasons was significant, like 2 years or more.
Yeah. So the build-up was crazy, I'm sure.
Yeah, like your expectations just built up to a point where like it doesn't matter what they wrote, it was probably not going to be satisfying. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So he was like, he got to the end and he's like, all right. He's like, it's kind of like, he's like, this is kind of goofy, but like, it's fine. And like, because he got to see the entire thing. He got to see the entire storyline front to back without all of the like podcasts and like media attention and the build up and the marketing and like all of the waiting of just like, well, what are, like, I'm in love with this thing. What are they going to do? Like, you're just kind of hanging on anything that they're willing to give you. And then then what they give you, you're like, well, I mean, it's not really what I wanted. It's like, well, what did you want? You're like, well, I don't know. Like, whatever you were going to do. And like,
no, but not this.
This is an enormous problem when you're wrapping up like a huge story like this. So for him, the predictable thing happened where like he got to go through it. Like, I'm going to say this thing out into the ether. Brad, you don't even worry about it.
Okay.
Like, he got to the whole like Hodor thing, and that just like washed over him. Like, it didn't even happen. And in my world, the Hodor thing was like months worth of like jokes and conversations and like just little memes, and like just to kind of like see that happen, we're like, wow, what a moment we made out of this, like that we made out of this thing where like this person who came back and like is literally drowning in the details, like, because he's just getting to see everything at one time with like no space for conversation in between.
Yeah.
Like, didn't even register on the scale. It was like, oh, because I told him, it's like, when this happens, like when they finally drop this on you, I'm looking forward to talking to you about it. And then when he was done with the series, I was like, oh. I was like, well, what about the thing? And he's like, well, yeah, I guess it happened. I was like, wow. Wow.
Context is a lot. Context is everything sometimes. That's amazing.
So, like, that's that big wraparound for me, like, thinking about something like Game of Thrones, Final Fantasy 14, like, what other things, like, where you'd have, like, stories that span, like, a consistent 10 plus years. It's hard to like pull the strings closed on that bag. And sure. Like, I just don't know if you walk away feeling satisfied at all. But then I watched the ending with him again, and I'm like, all right, like, this is actually like, I mean, two thoughts. One, like, all right, actually this was fine. And I have like I have a more like objective lens that I can look through now with some space. And like, I just don't know how, like, what would I have wanted that was any different from this? Yeah. Like, it was kind of always building towards this, and like the story has to end. Ideally, the story has to like conclude eventually.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I mean, endings are tough for anyone. I mean, I think sometimes you get an out when you have a beginning, middle, and end before you start. I mean, there are certain properties where you know where they're going, the beats they're going to hit. Maybe they vary along the way, but I think those shows where they kind of like are in the process and trying to figure it out where they're going and trying to bring that whole beast to bear is really difficult. And since this series is famously not finished yet with George R. Martin still, I mean, I don't know. I mean, is he going to die before he finishes the series, or is he going to get to finish it? Who knows? The
idea that like he will finish that story and ostensibly whatever he writes is the canonical ending. Yeah. Is wild to, like, for me, is just wild to consider.
Yeah, that's a crazy and kind of a singular thing in like IP writing and movies, where you've got these two competing storylines and they just, the same thing and yet so different at the same time, and the guy hasn't written the ending, but then they wrote the ending first before he did, and is that going to affect him, or is it not? Is he going to follow the beats? Is he going to throw what they did out? I mean, it's such a unique thing from a creative perspective. I'm very curious to see how this all shakes down, and you never know. I mean, I don't know what his health is like, or he's pretty old right now, so is he going to finish it? I mean, he seems to be really fine. Are you putting that in universe? Are you manifesting?
He seems fine.
He seems fine. He seems like he's procrastinating, that's for fucking sure. Anyway,
here's the thing though. Like, I don't think I need the end. I don't think I need the end to your book.
Yeah.
Like, you can move on, my guy.
Anyway, well, that is quite a journey. I'll have to talk to Russell about that sometime. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he's a good guy, and I like him a lot. I would be curious to pick his brain about that and see, because we watched Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and we really liked it a lot. It was, lighter. It was funny. It was interesting. It was definitely gory and gritty at times. It had its dark moments as well, but we just thought the main characters in that series were just like perfectly cast. And we really liked them a lot. And I don't think that it has spurred us on to go back and watch Game of Thrones or anything, but I think we're now, we've dipped a toe into that universe, and we would be, I don't know, just kind of curious about it a little bit. So anyway,
I mean, there's Game of Thrones can't do anything worse to you than Night of the Seven Kingdoms can. I will tell you, like, just avoid House of the Dragon writ large. Like, no one seems to like that. Even Russell, like, couldn't handle it.
Really? Okay. Good advice, and I think we're going to leave it there with this epic recording of
5-star runtime.
It's funny because we were joking around beforehand, and we were like, yeah, we're going to keep it concise, and I think we have logged the longest episode I've ever recorded of this show.
I'm actually kind of surprised I'm looking at this time here. So, like, again, 5-star runtime, everybody. Enjoy. This is what happens when you invite me to do the show with you.
All right, folks, that is a show. It is a show with Jeremiah, and it is still a show. Before the closing music, please leave reviews, share the show on social media. Most important of all, please recommend it to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. We'd love to get your questions and comments. Hit me up directly, SoVideoGamesPodcast@gmail.com, or on social media. I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. Jeremiah, do you want anybody to reach you or no?
No, I'm nowhere. Go to soundnovels.com.
Soundnovels.com. Or you can reach us both in the So Video Games Discord. You're in there sometimes. You're not in there all the time.
I lurk. I'm a lurker.
You lurk. You're a lurker. Join in the Discord for the show is totally free of charge. Just drop me a line in any of the ways I just mentioned, and I'll get you on board to continue the conversation. And finally, again, if you would like to support the show and help with the cost of running this podcast and also GameCritics.com, you can do that at patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and €1 helps that much more. Folks, that's going to do it for the mammoth-sized Jumbo XXL episode 480. Thank you again for joining us here on the So Video Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.
And I'll see you eventually.